see them here tonight. They had an article on channel, one of the channels. And I was taking me a little nap when I woke up.
It awoke you.
Well, we'll be here at 8:30 all night, for sure.
Probably.
I'd like to call the Maumelle City Council meeting to order. The first order of business is the invocation and pledge of allegiance. I'd ask you to all please rise for that. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this day, and we're thankful for the many blessings that you've bestowed upon us, Lord. We'd ask you to bless this community and bless this council, Lord, as we conduct your business tonight. We'd ask you to be with our troops that are serving overseas. Keep them out of harm's way, Lord, and we'd ask you to be with their families and bless them and comfort them as only you can. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We're pleased to have everyone here tonight. We're also pleased that we can honor an accomplishment by some of our young people from Maumelle. And so what I would like to do at this time, and it's going to be a little crowded, but I'd like to ask for that the Maumelle High School wrestling team come into the council chambers and line up in the front as best you can here. Just, you can come up in this area up here. You can work your way up here. Be careful, there's a ramp there.
I think we can do better than that.
Yeah, how about it?
And if there's parents that want to come in and get some pictures, we've got some rooms down the aisles if y'all want to come in. So, yeah, we want the parents to be able to see this also. What we want to do tonight is we want to do a proclamation for the Maumelle High School wrestling team. If you'd bear with me as I read it, and then we'll recognize them again. And that's why we wanted to get them all in here. We still got people coming in.
There you go.
Okay. Proclamation. Congratulations, Maumelle High School wrestling team. Whereas the Maumelle High School wrestling team scored a record 315.5 points en route to their second consecutive state championship. And whereas that efforts included having 13 medalists, 11 all-state, and 9 individual state champion wrestlers, and Noah Hightower being named Outstanding Wrestler for the state tournament. And whereas 4 senior wrestlers on the Maumelle High School team have signed letters of intent to wrestle collegiately, and whereas Cole Brainerd is the first and only 4-time All-State wrestler, and Justin Butler is the only 3-time state champion in Maumelle High School history, and whereas Cole Brainerd, Keon McVeigh, Daniel Vieira, and Malik Singleton are all 2-time state champions. And whereas Coach Blake Butler has been a part of the wrestling program for the past 2 years, and Coach Tony Brainerd has been working alongside Coach Ed Vieira for 4 years to establish the program. All 3 have been instrumental in leading the Maumelle High School wrestling team to 2 state championships. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Michael Watson, do hereby proclaim that the City of Maumelle is very proud of Coach Ed Vieira and the Maumelle High School wrestling team for their outstanding accomplishments, and call on the citizens of Maumelle to join in recognizing their efforts. Now proclaim this 17th day of March, 2014. Signed, Mayor Michael Watson. And what we have here is we've framed the proclamation for the coaches. And if you give one to Blake for us, And then we've got one for your trophy case also, Coach.
Very much.
And then we've got one for each of the seniors. Is that correct? Off the team. So if you're juniors or sophomores, you got to win it again to get a proclamation.
Aim for it.
So basically, that's your challenge. If you want a copy of the proclamation, you're going to have to win it as a junior next year. So is that okay?
There we go.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, City Council. Thank you, City of Mount.
And that's what this is. This is their state high school wrestling trophy right here, and you see a picture of the team. And they've had that on display at City Hall for the last 2 weeks, and it'll kind of go around the community, I think, a little bit, so everybody can see it.
I'll take it tomorrow to State Representative Lowry's office.
Okay.
And we'll start the business.
It'll be going around the businesses that have supported them through their efforts. So congratulations to the team, and I'd like to shake all of y'all's hands if I could. Thank you.
Hey, Mayor,
Congratulations.
could I say something
Yes,
real quick?
yes, sir.
We were in Springdale or somewhere up northwest Arkansas back to the 3rd of January, and we came in second out of a bunch of teams. And a team in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, which is a 27-year wrestling history, said, everybody knows where Maumelle is now. And before that day, they didn't, so that was pretty cool because of the Maumelle wrestlers. Move out, gentlemen.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you again next year.
Be Butler.
Move out. Thank you.
Thank y'all very much for being here tonight. Next item on the agenda is the Energy Customer Service Representatives. And we have Mr. Ron Harris and Mr. Jay Hartman here with us tonight.
Ron Harris, 6309 Southwind Drive, North Little Rock, Arkansas. And it's, all good things must come to an end. And look at all these people here tonight, just for me. Anyway, it's with sorrow that and excitement that I'm kind of exiting as your customer service, the area manager here, and I just want Maumelle to know and the Maumellians to know that I'm leaving you in good hands with Jay Hartman, the new area manager here. He knows this area as our wonderful citizens and those that contact me by cell phone. I'll be glad to transfer that number right on to Jay. But I'm still with Entergy. I'm still in the area, and I have employees as well that are working in your community, so I'm still involved. But tonight I just want to introduce you to Jay Hartman.
All right.
Thank you very much, Ron.
Well, you guys know Ron, and he's kind of above the top on a lot of stuff. I'm kind of low-key, but I've been with the company 25 years, going on 26, and I guess this is kind of old hat. I used to handle the industrial commercial accounts back when I first came here, Kimberly Clark, Molex, and those guys. Some of my contacts are still there, so it's pretty surprising. But I look forward to working with you. I'll get my information to you, and anything that I can do to look into things that deal with Entergy, I'll be happy to do that for you. So thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman, and we look forward to working with you also. We've enjoyed a good relationship with Ron, and we expect to continue with you. So, thank you. Next item on the agenda is Quorum Court Report, and we have Justice of the Peace Paul Elliott that would like to speak tonight.
Appreciate it. Mayor and Council, glad to meet you. It's good to see y'all again and everything. Okay, I'll go through 4 or 5 little items because I know there's a big crowd tonight. At the end of this year, at the end of 2013, the Sheriff's Department purchased 20 new vehicles, and this was with Act 1188. This is from trading in older vehicles, auction them off, and also insurance incorporated. That's the way the county got 20 brand new cars, and that is really good because they needed some of them. All right, now on the volunteer deputies, I want to let y'all know they have always paid for their uniforms, complete uniforms. They had to pay for everything. So what we did is Quorum Court, we set up a fund with the sheriff's department and everything for 65 of our volunteers. And we give them, not them, we didn't give it to them, we gave it to the fund, $180 each, which is not very much, but it's something to help them get their uniforms and equipment. Also, the current information I have received also about the watershed is the task force will be giving us a decision around April 1st or right after. That's the task force. They've been going on for months. On the interlocal agreement between cities will hopefully be worked out by June or July of this year. That's the information I've been getting because the cities have been trying to get together on this, and that's usage for the county jail. And I'm going to put another thing here. Awesome. I enjoy coming before the mayor, council, and letting Momel know what is going on. I enjoyed it. I've been doing it for 2 or 3 years now, and I just enjoy doing it, letting everybody know. And I have one final thing here. Since there's a surplus of money this year in the state, I believe all counties should be given more money for holding inmates. And I will be talking to legislators about this, and I have already talked to them. The county only gets $28 a day. That's not very much. And it costs $55 a day for the inmates to stay there. And you see, we're getting beat to death over this. And we need to have something done. And that's why I'm going to be talking to them. We have to get something done. This has been since 1999. It's been $28 a day. And it's a long time, and it's time for it to be changed. And that's all I have today, and I sure do thank you.
Thank you, Justice Elliott. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the March 3rd regular meeting. There's a copy of those minutes in the council packet. Is there any corrections or additions to those minutes?
I move we approve them.
Second.
I have a motion and second to approve the minutes of March the 3rd. Is there a discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Next item is public comment. And I have about 6 or 7 cards up here, and all the public comment cards I have are pertaining to the fire station issue that I would say is on Resolution 2014-15. Is there anybody here that's to speak on an item other than that? Okay, if not, then so we will take care of those when we get to that item, and we'll allow the public to speak first when we get to that item. And if you do wish to speak on that item, we'd ask that you fill out a comment card that's outside and turn it in so that we have it, just to kind of maintain some order is all we're asking for. And we do try to limit you to 3 minutes. We don't hold you hard and fast to that, but if you could, try to hold your comments to 3 minutes. We'd be happy to hear from you. Next item is the financial statement review. There's a copy of the financial statements through February in the council packet. Are there any questions for Ms. Thompson on those?
I move we approve them. Second.
It's been motioned second that the council approve the financial statements for ending February the 28th, 2014. Is there a discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Next item is a procedural motion. I need a motion from the floor that we read all resolutions and ordinances by title only.
Mayor, I make a motion that we read all ordinance and resolutions by title only, excluding Resolution 2014-16.
Second. Okay.
Second. Okay. We've got a motion and a second to read all ordinances and resolutions by title only except for 2014-16.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, correction, 2014-15.
Okay. So Are the seconds okay with that?
Second.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the motion is that we read all resolutions and ordinances by title only, except resolution number 2014-15. Is there any discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. All right, next item is the unfinished business. We have the third reading of ordinance number 843, amending the building permit fees. Mr. Clerk, if you'd read that by title only.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maumelle County, Pulaski State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 843, an ordinance amending building permit fees in the City of Maumelle and for other purposes.
Alderman Mosley.
Yes, once again, I just wanted to kind of briefly summarize what this ordinance is. It would raise the building fee permits for new residential construction, single-family and duplexes. The amount is very small and would equate to about $125 per 2,500 square foot house under a roof. It would make the building permits for such a house go up from $1,000 to $1,125. This rate increase, it was the permit fees were last adjusted 8 years ago in November 2005, and as I understand, they haven't been adjusted since then. It's the adjustment would be less than a 2% per year increase, and my guess is that the city staff salaries and other costs of inspections have gone up more than that over that time. Basically, I think it's time to probably raise it up a little bit, and it would take some of the perhaps burden off the residential taxpayers as far as raising money to inspect and for infrastructure. And I would hope that everybody would vote yes on this ordinance. Thank you very much.
Alderman Norris.
I've gone back and forth on this one a whole lot. And I had made up my mind that I was going to vote against it. But then I read the letter that was put into the council packet, which really mentions what I think is the important thing. And with fees, what the city is charging for is a service. And I think Alderman Mosley does have a point. I looked at the personnel budget for code enforcement, and just since 2009, it's gone up about 24,000. That's the budgeted numbers. And so I think that raising the fees by what is almost essentially the smallest amount we can raise it by, which is a penny per square foot for some of these and then 2 cents for the other, is reasonable in light of the amount of time since the last point has been raised. So I will surprisingly be supporting this. Just wanted to share that.
Okay, thank you. We need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we pass ordinance 843.
Okay. Thank you, Alderman Mosley. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 843. Is there any discussion on that motion? If not, Mr. Clerk, roll call vote.
Alderman Mosley.
Yes.
Alderman Saunders.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Anderson.
No.
Alderman Lewis.
No.
Alderman Johnson.
No.
Alderman Norris.
Yes.
Alderman Hogue.
No.
4-4.
I choose not to vote on this item. I just think the timing is wrong. Right now the building permits are at a basically 10-year low at 76 homes per year for the last 2 years, and so I just think the timing's wrong on that aspect of it.
I'd just like to thank everybody for your consideration. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you, Alderman Mosley. Okay, next item is the second reading of ordinance number 844, amending animal ownership, care, fines, and fees. Mr. Clerk, if you'd read that by title only.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 844, an ordinance amending fines and fees concerning animal ownership and care in the City of Maumelle and for other purposes.
Okay, there was some discussion on this one at the last time, and the question was, how much would this raise? I can't tell you exactly how many fees, how much in the amount of fees that it would raise, because I don't have a breakdown of every item. They don't keep it that way. They just basically keep the fines. And but Rita Cavanaugh, our animal services manager, told me that they collected $1,935 in fees last year. So that was the total collection of all fines that they collected. So I can't tell you what this would increase it to, but that's what was collected last year. So I don't think it's going to be a significant amount. And that's what I told you at the last meeting, is that we're not trying to collect the fines. We're trying to get people to comply with the ordinance and comply with the licensing of their dogs, basically. And so therefore, it's raising the fees on the second and third offense is the main reason that they're trying to raise these for people that do it on more than one occasion. Alderman Mosley?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion that we strike the word cat in the first violation. Cats could still, as I would understand, still be liable for if they became a nuisance, that sort of thing. But it would allow them to, taking out the word cat would allow them to run without being applicable to the leash law. And I'd like to make a motion that we strike the word cat.
Madam City Attorney.
Without having done a little bit more research, let me look at it. But understand, this is the penalties provision. This is not the provision that makes it illegal for a dog or a cat to. So it's not. I don't think it would have the effect that you're looking for. Although I understand, I think you can certainly make the motion. But in order to actually exempt cats from the leash law, we'd have to go back and revise a different section of the animal provisions in Chapter 10.
Let me withdraw that motion. I'll think about it for a week.
Yeah, let us provide some research on some sections that you might want to look at. So,
right, thank you very much.
Alderman Johnson.
This was a little bit confusing to me, to the extent that, I guess I'm really more concerned about how much is it being enforced. I don't have any problem with any of the increases or anything, making sure that we do enforce it. And I can see it be mighty tough for them to enforce and everything, and I'm sure they work hard at it. But, hey, I don't mind raising it, some of the fees and stuff like that. But, the main thing is enforcing it and make people do what they're supposed to do with the pets.
Well, I mean, we do enforce it now. That we don't catch every loose dog and we don't catch every loose cat that's out there. I mean, but if they do catch one and it doesn't have a license or a tag or anything, before that person can pick that animal up, then they have to pay the fine, basically, or appear in court, one or the other. So it is enforced in that area. And if there's a complaint on the number of pets that you have or keeping wild animals, those are all investigated. So I think these are being enforced. So it's not a matter of not trying to enforce them. It's sometimes you can't find the loose dog. When someone reports it, by the time Animal Services gets out there, it's already left the area and they can't find it. It's similar to a police call sometimes. We don't always find the suspicious person in an area. They're gone by the time the officers get there. Alderman Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor. One question under the vicious, dangerous animal clauses under here. I noticed we talked about this briefly last week about the graduation of the fees. It looks like we're charging more for first offense. Did we revisit that with animal control?
I talked to her about it, and she thought they were fine the way they were. Now, I agree that maybe there's some change needs to be made in that area, and I just did some things to where we raise it on the second violation $300 to $500, and then that makes it higher than the first offense. I mean, it's 250 to 500, so 300 to 500, and then 400 to 500 on the third offense. I mean, that would be my suggestion if you want to do something like that.
I think that's appropriate, because going to 200 to 300, actually lowering the fee for second, third offense, I don't think is sending the right signal.
Right. And I can come back with amended one, or if y'all want to amend it on the floor tonight, we can do that. I don't think that's a substantial change. But what I would recommend from 10-134D through H, under the second violations, make all those 300 to 500, and then under third offense, make it 400 to 500.
I'd like to make a motion that we raise those fees for violation 10-134D through 10-134H, and graduations from 300 to 500 for second and third offense.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to amend the fees under section 10-134D through H under second and third offenses from 300 to 500 on the second and 400 to 500 on the third offense. Is that correct? Okay. Is there a discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. That amendment is made. This item will be on third reading at the next council meeting. Next item is ordinance number 845 regarding construction and remodeling permits. Mr. Clerk, if you'd read that by title only.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 845, an ordinance amending the requirements for applications for construction and remodeling permits in the City of Maumelle and for other purposes.
Okay, as we stated at the last meeting, this is just an amendment to change the values because state law changed, and it's if you do anything $2,000 or greater, you have to have a residential building contractor's license, or you have to be working on your own home. Discussion on this. Is there a discussion on this ordinance? If not, this will be on third reading at the next meeting. Under new business, we have the first reading of ordinance number 846, amending a master street plan. Mr. Clerk, if you'd read that by title only.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 846, an ordinance amending the master street plan for the City of Maumelle, Arkansas, and for other purposes.
Okay, this is an item that would be that would allow for a curb cut on Odom South Boulevard that is tied to the fire station conditional use permit that you're going to be hearing later. This is only on first reading tonight, so it would be on second reading at the next meeting, and then it would be on third reading on April the 21st meeting. There's no action required on this tonight, and then you will be hearing comments on resolution number 2014-15, and so we'll address, I think, most of those issues that everybody has when we get to that one, unless someone has a question or they want to raise a concern now. Alderman Anderson.
So if we decide for some reason as a council to abandon the resolution, does this fall off, or will we have to do those separately?
You would have to deal with these separately.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
If there's no other discussion on ordinance number 846, we'll move on. Next item is the first reading of ordinance number 847, accepting dedication of streets and drainage. Mr. Clerk, if you'd read that by title only.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 847, an ordinance accepting and confirming the dedication of streets, drainage, in Phase 2 of the villages of New Bedford and Maumelle, Arkansas, upon the fulfillment of certain contingencies and for other purposes.
Okay, this is a subdivision that is under construction. Phase 2 of that subdivision is under construction, and so this is the process that we go through so that when the construction is complete and they've met all the requirements of the city, then they will be able to dedicate the streets along with the final plat. And this is on first reading, so it will also be on second reading at the next meeting and third reading on April the 21st. Alderman Saunders.
Thank you, Mayor. Just as a matter of public record, they do have the bond, maintenance bond. Is that correct?
No, sir, they do not. They have a performance bond right now. The maintenance bond is not done until they complete the streets.
Okay.
So this will be a contingent adoption. If in fact the council does adopt it, when you do, it will not go into effect until those requirements, including the bond, are met.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is resolution number 2014-15, and it should be read in its entirety, Mr. Clerk.
Hooray. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, Pulaski County, Arkansas, resolution number 2014-15, a resolution to grant a conditional use permit to the City of Maumelle for the construction and operation of a municipal fire department. Whereas the Maumelle Planning Commission conducted a public hearing and meeting on February 27, 2014 to consider a conditional use permit for certain properties zoned OS open space and more described below, which is within the City of Maumelle, Arkansas, and whereas a motion to recommend approval of the conditional use permit received a unanimous vote of all planning commissioners in attendance, and whereas according to those provisions of the Maumelle City Code which govern the use of lands zoned OS open space in the City of Maumelle, the City Council considered the request for a conditional use permit for a municipal and governmental use, namely a municipal fire station. Whereas the conditional use permit as requested does not adversely affect the character of the subject property. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, Arkansas as follows. The application filed by Mayor Michael Watson in his official capacity as Chief Executive Officer of the City of Maumelle, seeking a conditional use permit for a municipal and governmental use, namely the operation of the Maumelle Fire Department, a department of the governmental entity in an OS zone, is approved. A conditional use permit is hereby granted to the City of Maumelle, the principal municipal operation of which is located at 550 Edgewood Drive, Suite 590 in Maumelle, Arkansas, 72113, to construct and operate a fire station on that parcel of OS open space property located at South Odom Boulevard, just east of the intersection of Odom Boulevard and Club Manor Drive in Maumelle. The Council approves the application as presented, including the site plan approved by the Planning Commission, and fully incorporates the application and approved plans herein as set forth word for word by attaching the same hereto as Exhibit A, approved this 17th day of March 2014.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. There is a copy of the site plan and the landscape plan that's attached to that, and in all the applicable Planning Commission documents that were filed at that time, including a legal description as part of the attachments. Since this had come up since the Planning Commission meeting, which was February the 27th, I believe, I've received requests to delay this resolution. I do not have the authority to defer this resolution. I can choose not to put it on an agenda, and therefore it just stays out in an undeterminate state, basically, if it stays off the agenda. That's why I placed the agenda on tonight's meeting. I'd received several phone calls, and people had asked me when would it be on the council agenda, and I told them March the 17th. I didn't feel like that I could then remove it from the agenda since I had told them that. Now, I've met with residents. I've met with residents today. I'm willing to go forward with a delay on this process to give us time to investigate additional lands in the area. But at the same time, I don't think that a delay of 90 days is a good delay. I think it needs to be shorter than that. I would say by April the 21st is when that delay should be. That's the same time that the master street plan issue comes up. That's a little over 30 days. If that's not enough, the council at that time can choose to delay it another 30 days if they so choose. If that's not enough time, then we can delay it another 30 days. I'm not opposed to longer than 30 days, but I do have concerns about it. And where that is, somewhere between 30 days and 90 days, I'm not going to say till we discuss it tonight. I do want to hear from the residents that are here tonight. I've had some very good email conversations with people and all, but what I do need to do is tell you some history on it. This was an election of the people. We can't just say, let's not build the fire station now. It was an election of the people. Some people allege that we weren't forthcoming enough with information of where that location was at the time. If we did that, I apologize. But if we put an address in a bond election, then we're locked into that location, and the only way you could change it is go back for a vote of the people, and then it would have to be moved then with another vote. So you have to be careful about what you put in a bond election, because if you say it's going at that intersection of Odom Boulevard and even Odom Boulevard and Club Manor, if you change that location, you couldn't build a fire station without going back to the people. So just want to make that clear to everybody that it was an election of the people back in 2012 to move forward with it. But it was not listed as that particular intersection at the location, and that is why. But we'd be happy to hear from citizens tonight and on however they want us to address this issue. And I've got about 7, now let's see, 1, 2, 3, looks like 8 on this item. So we'd be happy to hear from you. I would ask that you limit them 3 minutes. I'm not going to hold you to 3 minutes, but let's try to keep it short and sweet. But I do need you to state your name and address for the record. First one I have is from Mr. Kerry McManus.
Hey, how y'all doing? I'm Kerry McManus, 13 Ophelia. Many of you guys know me, especially Mike. I can't thank you guys enough for the things y'all done for me, but I just really don't believe that this is the right thing to do as far as putting this fire station there. Property value is going to go down. I do think a lot of people didn't hear about it, the vote. I think it does need to be reheld. There's so many other things. We got one station, the brand new one. We got one right up here by my house, still being used, has fire trucks in it. Now we're going to put another one there. You got 2 at each end of the boulevard, North Little Rocks, and over here Marche that will help us, which have helped us in wrecks and stuff. I just think there's a lot of things we need to work on besides that. I mean, you guys drive up and down this road right here. It's like a roller coaster. There's flood problems, like that, of course. There's just so many other things. Our parks are horrible. I've got a 4-year-old. They're wore out. They need work. I believe you honestly need to do another vote on this because I knew nothing about it. I'm pretty active in this, because I've been here several times about my house flooding up and down this road that you guys have fixed, and I'm very appreciative of it. But I just think there's a lot more things that need to be worked on before this. Renovate the one we got here already. The building's already there. We already own the land. You're not messing up any green space. Put a nicer park in that green space or something. Those put a fire station behind your house. The noise, how are you going to like it? Are you going to like looking out behind your house and all you see is a big concrete building and sirens going off? No, man. I don't like seeing these apartments behind me, but that's the house I chose and that's where I live. So I just ask that y'all, re-vote on that because I think you're spending money on something that it would cost less to do it if we did it right back here at the old station that's still being used to this day. We're going to have 3 fire stations within less of a mile of each other.
No, the one fire station would be closed. It would be relocated.
Okay, so that one's going to be closed, but we already own that land and the building's already there. And it's still being used to this day ever since the day that we built the new one. So there's truck guys. I know there's trucks there. They've come to my house because I've got a fire pit going in my backyard. It's being used every single day with trucks loaded in there, ready to go. I just think a lot of people didn't hear about it. The location is the whole problem. That's why everybody's here. And I just think there needs to be another vote on it, honestly. There's other things. Street lights. Neighborhoods are dark around here. There's cars being broken into a lot around here. Fences needing fixed. Now there are problems. There's just so many other things that could be used with this money besides that. And you're wasting green space. When I came here, we had deer running around here, rabbit, all kinds of stuff. Just build. Everything's going away. So that's all I got to say. I just, I thank y'all. I think y'all always do the right thing. Y'all always have for me. And I just think you ought to have another vote on this.
Thank you, Mr. McManus. You will be happy to hear that Edgewood Drive is going to get overlaid as a part of the city street aid project through the highway department, part of your half-cent gasoline tax or sales tax. So, sure.
I'm probably going to be the most person that wants more fire station here, anyways. But they're opening up a new place called Sky Zone, it's a trampoline park. I'm going to be in charge of kids, adults, and everything, and I'm going to need people, fire response, amps like that. But that green space, I just don't think it needs to go there. I wouldn't want to buy my house.
Okay. Thank you. Next card I have is from Miss Jackie Johnson.
I see a lot lot of familiar faces here. My name's Jackie Johnson, 38 Fairway Woods Circle. And honestly, he already said everything I was going to say. And he said it wonderfully. I agree 100%. Everybody I've talked with agrees with it. I know it's already been voted on it. I know we've allocated the money for it. It's okay. But, we've got one at the furthest end that doesn't cover anything except stuff in front of it, hardly. And so we're putting another one right in the middle that's using up our land. How about let's moving it over? There's plenty of places. I could name probably about 3 really, really good places. We might have to pay a little bit of money for it, but we've allocated what? 1.6, $1.2 million for it? Is it
2.4.
2.4. So there you go. We could buy a little piece of land somewhere else that we could get that. There's so much stuff going in and out over there. Aside from the fact, like I say, I agreed with everything he said. He said everything I've got on my list to say. And I don't know, we have 5 house fires a year. Do we need 3 firehouses? Could we not put one, since it's all the way at the end now, can't we put one a little closer that way that would help, that would get in touch with Country Club of Arkansas as well? And I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't live near particularly where you all want to put the fire department, but I know that has been a beautiful area, and, evidently there were people that made decisions on this. Did they give consideration to anything else? I see yeses, but are you all the one that decided?
In 2008, yes, there were other pieces that were looked at in 2008.
And they were pushed aside because, may I ask?
The council chose not to spend the money on purchasing the land at that time.
Well, I don't know. That's just my feelings, and I think other people feel the same way. Y'all do a great job, and you have to run the city the best way you know how. But, let's not go to the middle of town where we have, because the next thing, maybe they may decide, well, we really do need a shopping center where the lake is. Let's not do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Next card I have is from Reverend Dr. Jim Brattel.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor and City Council members.
If you'd state your name and address for the record, please. I'm sorry.
Yes, it's coming up.
Okay. All right.
First, I want to accept your apology, sir.
I'm sorry.
I say, first of all, I want to accept your apology.
I said I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm apologizing
for. Well, for being sorry.
Okay. All right. Okay.
That's
quick.
Okay.
I am Reverend Dr. Jim Brattel, and I live at 21 St. Thomas Drive, and I own a home and property at 9 Sharondale Place. I'm here this evening to ask our 8 City Council members to vote against Resolution 2014-15 that will approve a conditional use permit for the fire station to be located on property at South Odom and Club Manor. It is my understanding that our council's options tonight are to defer, delay, table, deny, or approve this resolution. I'm asking our city council members to deny this resolution for the following reasons. First of all, first and foremost, elected officials are elected to do the will of the people. They are not elected to do their own will. Perhaps I'm naive, but I do not for 1 minute believe that this council has purposely circumvented the residents of this city. However, for whatever reason, those residents in the immediate area have risen up in strong opposition to this measure. And since the measure is on the agenda to be considered this evening, I believe that a caring, compassionate, thoughtful, and just council will listen to our objections and to at least delay, if not deny, approving the resolution until all objections can be thoughtfully considered. Second, if this resolution is denied, am I not correct in assuming that ordinance number 846, amending the master street plan to allow curb cut, becomes a moot issue? Thirdly, that only 26 letters were sent to residents in the immediate location of the proposed site does not notify residents in other areas who may oppose placing this proposed station in this location. Fourthly, I understand that our City Council will have to approve the purchase of land for this proposed location to be changed. In light of the most recent uprising of strong objection for local residents, I cannot imagine that a loving, caring, compassionate, and thoughtful and just council, if they should choose not to deny this resolution, they would at least defer long enough to consider other available properties, such as the northwest corner of South Odom and Club Manor, close by the Christian Church, or the property available behind NBA Bank Building on Maumelle Boulevard. And there may be other properties of which I am totally unaware. Fifthly, if my understanding is correct, the bond issue covers the entire cost of the proposed fire station with funds available in that bond issue that could possibly cover the purchase price of another adequate location for a fire station site. Why not use the money to purchase a piece of property that would satisfy city needs and relieve the stress on the immediate property owners who will be negatively impacted if this resolution should pass this evening? Mr. Mayor, am I correct in assuming that although all discussions that you had with the council and constituents during the ordinance approval and subsequent election were always directed at constructing the fire station on the open space on that property south of Kroger store? Sir, I don't doubt this statement. What concerns me regards the constituents. Who were they, and how many were there? Quite honestly, sir, there are only 8 aldermen, and you could have talked to every constituent in town except the 26 who received letters and who will be most negatively impacted, two of whom we know did not receive their letters. So why has the uprising come at this late date? I think that question deserves an answer. Sir, my last thought. Sir, November 6, 2013 was a Wednesday evening. On that night, the council was provided a schematic site plan of the proposed fire station for that location. You say that you do not recall anyone expressing concerns over the location at that time. Who is anyone? And if anyone includes the immediate residents where 26 letters were sent, why do you think that they are waiting until just recently to raise serious objections? Is it possible that they didn't know of the certitude of this location under consideration until recently? Mr. Mayor and City Council members, I have been straightforward with you this evening, but I can assure you that I am not negative toward our city's fire department, our city's firefighters, or building a new station somewhere. I am strongly opposed to building on the proposed site and urge the council to deny or to defer the resolution that's under consideration. Thank you, sir, for providing me this time to speak.
Thank you, Dr. Bertrand. Ms. Donna Hayden.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good evening, Mayor and Alderman. My name is Donna Hayden. My husband and I both live at 4 Club Manor. We are probably, so far, one of the only people who have been up here who are directly impacted by this proposed fire station. I personally was one of the 4 who showed up to the meeting in December. I strongly opposed the property site at that time. I want to reiterate the fact that my husband and I are strongly opposing this site today. We, like I said, are directly impacted by this. Not only the noise, the lights, the traffic, the word that I'm looking for, the entire substation just being on that open property itself is very disturbing to me.
the open property there is used. I have personally witnessed it, where even this past weekend, there were children on that open site. They were flying kites. They were there. It is not a piece of property that is not used. Other than to just reiterate again, I and my husband are directly impacted by this. We will be asking to deny. If not deny, to defer, and to look for an alternate location for this. We also are not opposed to a fire station in and of itself. I'm not opposed to that. What I am asking is that there be another location, since the money is available to purchase another piece of property for this substation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hayden. Mr. Pat Smith.
My name is Pat Smith. I live at 5 Hogan Drive. Handed out each of you some information that I'd like to present to you. First and foremost, I voted for the bond to put a fire station on the south. Did so willingly and under the belief that we are not talking about taking open space to put the site on. So in good faith, I supported the bond issue. Secondly, I would not have voted for it had I known that we were going to take the green space. I would have voted against it, and I would have asked other people to vote against it, because I think there's viable alternatives. I think the foundation of Maumelle that we go out and promote is we're family friendly. We have ballparks we've invested in. We promote that. We sell that to industry that comes here. And I think we got to walk the talk, guys. That's what I really believe. So I believe going down there and taking that site is inappropriate. You've already heard from my fellow residents that the land is being used. I've lived here since 1979, bought the lot and built a house on it. So I'm real familiar with the land and the way it gets used. And I can tell you it's an asset. It gets used on 4th of July, gets used during the year. So my recommendation is that honestly that we need to look at an alternative site. We've talked to the mayor several times and have enjoyed the dialogue and the opportunity, got more history, and I understand that there are alternative sites. We just got to be willing to step up and spend the money to go get them. That's what it really kind of comes down to. If you take the green space this time and build a busy building on it, I submit to you additionally you're on a slippery slope. Why don't we take other green space for whatever the purpose that comes along? So it's not a good precedent. And then I think you have an ethical, moral issue that I think the doctor tried to address, that if you're negatively and in goodwill free will, not goodwill, go down there and impact people's houses and their value, maybe you need to be writing them checks, guys. Okay? Now, I live over 2/10 of a mile from the location. So I don't think my property is going to lose any value. But I don't think it's right that we impact our fellow residents in the way it's going to be. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Ms. Alicia Gillum.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Gillen. I live at 19 Club Manor. I actually think it's kind of ironic that today is St. Patrick's Day and we're all wearing our green in support of this green space that we're looking at. My biggest concern is the lack of communication that came from the city when they did propose this bond to the residents. And many of the things that I've even gone back to now, it does make loose terms of that intersection. And at no time were we giving the insight. And I do believe that in 2008, you did go ask for that piece of property and were turned down, unfortunately. This is a new council. These are new aldermen. This is a new city. This is the aldermen that would stand before us that approved the strategic plan for our community. It is a strategic plan of looking forward for the next 20 years. You guys are forward-thinking. You believe in growth. You believe in responsible growth, and that is what we're asking for right now. We just really want you to sit and delay this for at least I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to leave that up to you guys. But look at the impact that it will make. We do want to provide adequate service for our community. We take the recommendation of the fire department. That is the intersection that they have deemed as the best intersection. That's what they get paid to do. You guys are going to get paid to make the best decision for the residents of this community and provide the natural aesthetics. One thing I do want to close with is that many people come to Maumelle for many different reasons. Two at the top of the list are for our outstanding fire and police protection. The second is for our natural characteristics and aesthetics. I do not think we should sacrifice one for the other. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gillen. Ms. Suzanne Unruh.
My name is Suzanne Unruh. I live at 68 Blue Mountain Drive, so I'm way down the road from where this is being built. I express surprise that this has come up as an issue again because I thought it had been resolved before we ever even had the vote for the bond. I'm pleased that it came up again because I never liked where this was going. When I voted for it, I knew that it was probably going on this location because we already had the land, and that was my understanding that the bond was actually expensed with the land already owned, so we don't have the land. We probably have to put a new bond out to buy land for this building, possibly. That was my understanding, that the building was expensed as we already own the land. But I was never comfortable with it going on a green space. Now, my understanding when I moved here in 1991 was that was a little park. It had a little gazebo on it. All the kids came and did their sports on it. I thought it was a park, not a green space. I'm just shocked to hear that it was a green space. And I, too, moved to Maumelle because of the neighborhood parks and the green spaces, and that was supposed to be sacrosanct. We would never take them to use them for any other purpose. And when it was first proposed that we put the firehouse there, that scared me. Because I thought, well, okay, then which one's next? Which one is next? There's a little park that has 2 basketball goals on it. It's a nice big space right there by the road. It's not actually in a neighborhood just like this is. Is that one next? I mean, we own that land and nobody's using it for anything, so which one's next? And how many more green spaces are we going to lose because we want to build something and we don't want to spend the money for the land? And I understand that this is the best spot for this area, I should say, is the best spot for that, for all the different studies that were done for where the houses are in Maumelle, and that we need to have a firehouse in this area, and then we're going to close the other one down. I knew all that when I voted for it, but I would have been much happier if we had bought the land right next to the church and put it there, because it did not affect green spaces. Because the minute you take one, you're going to the next time you're going to take another, and then another, and then another, and pretty soon Maumelle is going to look like every other town in Arkansas, and it's going to look really bad. We're going to have a curb cut here and a curb cut there and a curb cut here, and next thing you know, it's going to be hell to get through, and Maumelle is already becoming hell to get through. But even when the side streets start getting bad, that's going to be bad, and you're going to have people not wanting to move here, and that's a shame, because this is a really, really nice town, and I would hate to see that happen to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Unruh. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on resolution number 2014-15 from the public? Well, if you'll have to come to the microphone. Sorry. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Sharon Eubanks, and I live at 16 Hogan Drive. My question is, you're talking about letters that were sent to people in the immediate area.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just wanted to tell you, we live about a half a block on Hogan, which is between Maumelle Boulevard and Club Manor. It's that little cul-de-sac street. I did not get a letter. I'm a half a block up the street.
Okay, you said 16 Hogan?
16 Hogan Drive. And we didn't get a letter.
You should have gotten one. You're on the list, so you should have gotten one. So, hey,
Are they
okay,
supposed to come
all right.
certified? Or?
No, they were just mailed. They were not certified letters. They were just mailed.
Okay. Well, I just didn't get one, and I'm very opposed to this this site. I think it's, besides the fact of the green space, I think the rest of it is just a miserable place because of the traffic congestion that's already awful there. You can barely get across Oda Boulevard on Club Manor. So I would just appreciate it if you give consideration to tabling this or just voting it down, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Banks. And I just, there was a couple of questions asked during discussion. I wrote down as many of them as I could. There's not a lot, but there were several. But one was take this money and use it for something else. You cannot do that. These funds were voted specifically for construction of a fire station, so those funds cannot be used for anything else but a fire station. If you don't build the fire station, those monies would go back to retire the bonds. So that's one comment, or one question that was asked. The other was stated that why do we need the fire station there? We only have 5 fires a year. Well, we also run on medical calls. The fire department ran 1,499 calls last year. 70% of those were medical. Just because we don't have a fire still doesn't mean that there's not an issue that a fire truck needs to get there quickly. That's why when siting a fire station, they use a 1.5 mile drivable distance. It's to get the full credit for ISO. And so seconds count, minutes count when it's a medical emergency or a fire. So that's why the fire station is being moved to the south end. It's being moved about a mile from its current location so that there's not such a huge overlap between the north station and the south station. If you continue to move it further down Maumelle Boulevard, then you're covering parts of North Little Rock that will never become part of Maumelle. So that's how the siting came into being at that location. That's why it came to that area right there. And also something was asked that how many constituents that I talked to personally during the election. I can't tell you the number of constituents. I did talk to a lady that lived at number 2 Club Manor. She called me on the phone and talked to me that day. I've talked to her on a couple of occasions. Miss Oglesby's her name. She's here. We talked on the phone because you also talked to me about the power outages that you were experiencing. And so, I mean, that we've talked on the phone. So. Oh, I know that. I know that, but I told you that's where it'd be located at, and so you said you opposed the fire station and against the election. So we talked on the telephone, and you're right, you did oppose that. I'm not saying you didn't. You did oppose it, but I talked to several other constituents and told them that's the location because at that time that was the only city-owned land in that area, and so I was not telling anybody that would go on a different location. The question was also asked about how many people spoke out on the November 6, 2013 meeting when I passed out, or when I didn't pass it out. The fire department passed out a site concept of that plan. That was a budget workshop meeting, and I think the only people there were probably council members. So there was not any other constituents there. It's open to the public, but it's usually a 3-hour or 4-hour meeting that most people don't want to sit through. Including the council sometimes and myself, but those are there, and so that's the issue. But there was not. I don't remember if there was constituents there or not. There were staff members from the city of Maumelle and the council and myself, and probably Mr. City Clerk, and that was probably all that was there that night. So just wanted to clear that up. There was not any indication trying to say that it was a public city council meeting or anything that it was passed out. So just tried to address those. That's the ones I wrote down. If I missed some, I'm sorry. But I wanted to address those questions. If there's no other public comment, we'll open it up to the floor of the council. Oh, yes, sir. Mr. Green.
My name is David Green. I don't have anything probably new to add other than, and I live, I guess you need my address.
Yes, sir.
I live at 128 Navajo, which is on down the road. From there, I pass this intersection every day of the week almost. But I voted for the fire station. I have every hope that we'll have a fire station. I just strongly disagree with using the green belt for that. And one other thing I'd just like to mention, where I live, we overlook Mountain Terrace. I saw the lightning strike. I saw the fire right behind my house in the neighborhood. And I know the fire department responded very quickly, but I think it could have been a little quicker if we'd have had one closer.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Anybody else from the public? Yes, sir.
My name is Velimir Petrovich. I'm at 13 Club Manor. I'm sorry, I just got out of work, but this is important, so I wanted to be here. I work at the VA, love my country, really appreciate what firemen do, really appreciate what the police do. That's one of the reasons that we love Maumelle. The police, when I first came here, they were called to my house, and they said there was somebody that looked kind of seedy and suspicious. I was dressed all in black, and I was just out to get the Sunday newspaper, but they immediately came, and I truly appreciated that, and it was a very positive experience, and I look back on it fondly. We were told about this thing with the fire department, and again, I always think that police and fire folks should get whatever resources they need. And I also appreciate what our neighbors, it is an area that when you first come into Maumelle, that's kind of where it welcomes you to the city. And it's kind of a tight area. And in my own heart, I always thought the police and the fire people deserve a nice area, that there's plenty of parking. I don't know how the parking would be in that spot. It's a pretty tight area, and I voted for this bond. There's some things I don't mind paying for. Police and fire, whatever y'all need, I'm happy to pay for it. And I think it could be a win-win in looking for a site that both everyone in the neighborhood is happy with, preserves the way that Maumelle looks. Again, it's not like other cities. People, when they come to Maumelle, it's like, wow, this is really open, and it's a different city than other places. I really take pride in this city. I love it here. It's the best place I've ever lived. And at the same time, I want to get these people that are risking their lives for us in the police and fire department, they deserve to have a nice, roomy place. It shouldn't be squished in this one little place. And I think at least taking 60, 90 days to just see, hey, is there a better place that will accommodate everything? And there might not be, but I think, taking just a little time to just look and say, hey, is there a place that, everybody, it can be a win-win for everybody and have more parking and it's not kind of squished in. I think the folks at the fire department, they risk their lives. They've earned they deserve an area that's nice and wide open, and you don't have to worry about parking. So, again, it may not end up working out, but I think it'd be worthwhile to at least, for these folks that are risking their lives for us, to at least take a small amount of time and look and see if there was something that couldn't accommodate you all, so you got a nice, roomy place. And, again, I'm happy to, whatever the police and fire department need here, I'll support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Petrovich. Anybody else from the public? We don't want to cut anybody off. Okay. If not, I've got a light on here. Alderman Saunders.
Thank you, Mayor. In order to provide more time for public input, in order to explore other possible locations, if we can do that, and in order to provide more time to look at budget considerations, if we did consider another location, I would like to make a motion that we postpone the vote on 2014-15 till at least, until April the 21st meeting.
I second that.
I have a motion and a second to delay consideration of resolution number 2014-15 until April the 21st. Is there a discussion on that motion? Okay, I had several lights already on here. Alderman Mosley?
I was just going to ask, the bond the portion related to the fire station was $2.4 million. Was that correct?
That's correct.
And I've seen some wording, but I don't have it, that talked about that allowed for a purchase of land as part of that. And I was going to ask you what the estimate is for the, what are the costs related to the building that you think that would be, and how much would be available for additional land?
Well, we didn't allow for land acquisition costs in the budgeted numbers because I'd taken it to the council one time, and so it does say in the language any land acquisition on the election, because it's just like you can't list an address. You better have an out if you can't use the property you're going to use. Just like if the council denies this resolution, then we're going to have to purchase land in order to build the fire station somewhere else. There is some contingency funds. There's about $200,000 in contingency funds in that number. The building construction was estimated at $1,950,000. Then there was design fees, a little over $200,000, and then there was $200,000 in contingency, which is about 10%, and then there was also the cost to underwrite the bonds and bond counsel. That all has to be included in that. So a lot of the funds are being used, over the $2 million are being used for professional fees, such as architect, engineer, bond counsel, and bond underwriter. So there would be approximately $200,000 that could be used for land acquisition. Now, what that does, though, is then you don't have any contingency money if construction costs go up. But just to make that very clear to everybody.
All right. One other quick question. Would there, most fire stations tend to have a stoplight out front where it would stop traffic so the fire trucks can get in and out. Is that something that's part of this proposed site?
It is not. I mean, currently. We do that. We actually, where all of our fire stations enter onto right now onto the roadway, there's not a traffic light, but there's a traffic light within a few blocks or less than a block of one of them. We do have control of that light. So probably what would happen, this intersection would be controlled, probably Odom South and the Boulevard would probably be controlled from the fire station to allow them to make a left turn out of there. What you'd want to do is you want to clear, if they were having to come out of Odom South and turn left, you'd want any traffic to clear in front of them so that light would turn green and stay green until they could pass through that. Now, there's not plans for putting another light anywhere else, so at this current time.
All right. I'll make one comment too. Just I've heard from a lot of people on this. I've probably gotten 30 emails, probably 10 phone calls, and I haven't received one that was supporting the current location. So I would hope that we'll make every effort to at least look at alternative locations. I don't know what are available. There may be something available, and my directions may be off, but north of Kroger, maybe north of Walgreens, and then that catty corner lot possibly. But I think with as many people that are concerned about this, I think when you have that many emails, that many phone calls, you know that there's a lot of people that are interested in this, and I would like to see us look at it as hard as we can to see if there is an alternative location.
Okay. Thank you, Alderman Mosley. Alderman Hogue.
Well, he answered part of my questions, and that was about the cost and if there was any money left for land acquisition, and the answer to that, I think, was no. But I wanted to know, if you know, what is the acreage of the green space that's over there, the entire acreage?
I can't answer that question. I do not know that.
And what is the acreage we were proposing to use for the fire station?
1.54, it's on the preliminary plat, which...
That's
yeah, 585, 1.585.
But my point is that it's not nearly all of that land. Am I correct? Or do you think it would take most of it?
It's a significant portion of it, and it would take all of the south half of that green space. It would totally block, except for a small strip on the western side, it would totally block that green space. The only thing that would be on the western side is the pathway that's currently there. but it would abut the houses that back up to Hogan, and then abut up to the pathway that's behind the houses on Club Manor.
Okay, and, I know that everybody here, this entire room apparently is opposed to the fire station going there. I happen to be one of the almost original aldermen here, and was here through all this discussion, and I know that we really took everything seriously. It's not something that we just decided fly by night. I think that it's in the right place, but I don't have a problem with giving us another 30 days to look and be sure and let everybody look. But I just really believe that that's the place that it needs to be. I believe the fire department more or less told us that.
Thank you, Alderman Hope. Alderman Johnson?
Yes. I would like to point out that we have $5 million of the people's money, and if the people want us to buy a piece of property, that's their money and everything like that. So, hey, we could buy a piece of property. Last but not least, what are we asking ourselves? Are we asking to delay it 60 days? What are we going to do in 60 days? Who's going to work on something? Are we going to look at land? Are we going to ask people what they want for their land? In other words, are we just delaying it? Are we going to be back here with the same group and everything like that? Hey, I want to delay it, but I want to have I think we should have as a council something for the mayor to say, hey, we'll look at every piece of land that might be available. Hey, if we came up here tonight and said we're going to locate it on Lake Willistine, hey, people would go nuts. I mean, absolutely. All I'm saying is I think we need to have a directive for the mayor to tell him what we want to do, because it's going to come back to us in 30 days, and if we don't do something and have something else to look at, then, hey, I don't have a problem with the delay. But by the same token, we still got to make a big decision. And we don't have any choices right now. Now, I will say this. Don't forget, I don't know who all had a choice in this. We put a fire station on the north end of town. If you go 1.5 out of the north station, most of it's out in the county. So let's make sure that this location is right and it balances out as well as we can. And I don't mind saying this, the fire chief told me the other day, well, hey, we're setting up for a third fire station. Hey, let's make the most of the fire stations that we got. Let's get it as good a location as we can. Hey, let's don't start talking about the third fire station. Let's get the second one built. And then we can look at things. And we want it as good a location. And I think the people, hey, if we're going to put it on Lake Willistine, we'll have the whole town in. But by the same token, the open space, I believe is what's it defined as. Yeah, open space. But we accept it as green space. And, and that's the way we look at it. But the bottom line is, we got to, hey, just delaying it 30 days, hey, I'll go for the delay, but let's leave the mayor with something to put his teeth in.
Thank you, Alderman Johnson. Alderman Norris?
My question is, I know 4 of the aldermen up here weren't aldermen at the time the bond was passed, and while I was out there in the audience, I'm just curious what the history of the selection process of this piece of land is, or why that was selected as opposed to others, or if you could just give a little.
If you go the maps, I mean, and Mr. Clerk, if you could bring up the map of the current configuration, I mean, that map right there is showing you where station number 1 is located, which is at Murphy Drive and Maumelle Boulevard, and Alderman Johnson pointed out that part of that covers the county, but that's the growth area that Maumelle is going to go into in the future. Based on the strategic plan, there's been a lot of talk about annexation in that area. The only way that we can grow is to the north and to the west. So that's part of the process of locating at that end. It was also city-owned property at that time. That was the other issue, is that was not city-owned, city-controlled. It's actually owned by the Maumelle Facilities Board. So that's where that location was selected at. The other location was just a general location, or that location is at Millwood. I'm sorry, 501 Millwood, or 201, 501. 100 Millwood, I'm sorry, 100 Millwood. So that's at Maumelle Boulevard and Millwood, the current location. You see the big overlap, so it needs to be moved a little bit to the south. So that's how that was done. And then the second map, it shows you where the proposed location is at Club Manor and Maumelle Boulevard. Not a specific piece of property, but you see that there's not near the overlap that's there, and it covers the central part of town. So it reduces that overlap between the two stations and covers a main center part of town. The question was just brought up, well, what about the third station? What about the fourth station? Maumelle is going to need other stations. Little Rock has 23 fire stations. As you grow, you have to add fire stations. But you cover your core area and then move out to outlying areas. So in 10 years, 15 years, I don't know the date, you could be putting a station out somewhere near the Diamond Center or something like that. You want to somehow connect back to this green area with that station. If we annex the Star Farms and move to the west, in 30 years, you might be putting a station out on Settlement Road. So that's the planning. And then there's another map, and it actually shows if you located it at Country Club of Arkansas and somewhere in that area, Country Club and Maumelle Boulevard, that you would be covering a large portion of North Little Rock. And then you would also not be covering the western side of Odom at all, hardly, with that one. So it covers a large part of Country Club of Arkansas, gets you to the Diamond Center and all that. But that's the 1.5 mile driving distance, and that's related to the ISO, which is Insurance Service Organization. That's who sets our fire ratings. So that's what it's all based on. The history behind this ending up on the open space was, as Alderman Hogue mentioned, in 2008, I took a proposal to the City Council to purchase land adjacent to the Christian Church on Club Manor. At that time, the council felt it was in the best interest not to purchase that land. It was $5 a square foot at that time. It was a lot of money. It was over $400,000 to purchase 2 acres. We didn't have a bond issue. We didn't have the money to construct the fire station at that time. So I'm not saying the council made a bad decision at that time. They made the best decision they had based on the information they had at that time. So then in 2012, the bond issue was put forward. The election was held. The fire station passed. We can again consider that land that's still available. And I had a discussion with Mr. Smith and Ms. Gillen this morning that we're probably, it's an advantage to us that land is still vacant that's next to the Christian church. The price has actually gone down. The asking price of that land has gone down. So we might still be able to purchase that land at a lower price than we offered for it in 2008. So maybe the best decision that the council's made, if by turning it down at that time, we may save some money on the same piece of ground. So that's a possibility that we could still purchase that land. There's been mentioned some land north of Walgreens, land north of Kroger. That land is very expensive, the asking price for it, just because it has Maumelle Boulevard frontage and all that. I would say the location would be on Club Manor, would be the best. We can come back with prices. We've got several prices in the area, but right now the price on the land next to Club Manor is at the lowest price it's been in several years.
Okay. You've answered my follow-up question a little bit. So the only property, or let me rephrase that, Alderman Johnson was asking for something specific that you come back to the council with. Could you come back with properties that might be for sale within the geographical area that the police department believes maximizes coverage?
I can, and I can come back with what their asking prices are. I mean, I can make an offer on a piece of property and see if it's accepted. Now, it's always contingent on council approval also. So, and what you got to understand is, at the time, one of the things when we made the offer, there was contingencies that came back, and they were the property owners were asking for guaranteed curb cuts and some things like that. So just because if the city makes a proposal, they may come back with a counteroffer that includes curb cuts and things like that on future property. That if you're taking 6 acres of property and you're only buying 2 acres of it, they may ask for some consideration on the remaining 4 acres with curb cuts or something like that in the future.
Okay, and my final question is, I know we're under some sort of timeline to either begin the project or end it.
End it.
End it. Does changing locations to another location, is this something that we can use the same plans that are already drawn up, or is that going to make it so that if we move to a new location, we don't get the new fire station?
We can use part of the plans. We cannot use the site plan or the landscape plan. They are site-specific, so we cannot use those. The building design could work at another location. It may require some tweaking depending on the configuration of the new site. But we have not developed construction plans. We developed just to the point of having a schematic floor plan and then to develop the site plan. We have not developed construction plans, so if this was approved tonight, we would move forward with construction plans. If it's not approved, then we're looking for another site. Then we're on hold with those plans until we get another site. Then we will still have to go before, even if the council chose to purchase another piece of ground, you'd still have to go before the planning commission with a site plan. There would not, if it's on commercial land, we'd have to go forward with a site plan, preliminary plat, and that sort of thing. We'd still have to follow the regulations. We would not have to go for a conditional use in that matter. So it would probably just go to the planning commission at their level. Now, the council would have to approve the purchase of any land.
Thank you.
Alderman Lewis?
I have a couple of questions before I make any comments. One of the things that I wanted to ask up at the start, have we currently incurred any cost related to some of the site plans that we have gathered and landscape plans?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have a roundabout figure as to what that
I have
would
not
be?
received an invoice, no, sir.
Okay.
It's going to be around $20,000, I think, for surveys and site plans, yes.
One thing that Alderman Norris asked was a very poignant question as far as the time frame that we're looking at. And I was a bit confused. You said that we have a time frame related to the project's completion?
Yes.
Okay. Per our conversation that we had the other day related to the deadline, is this a deadline because of the bonds that we have borrowed on?
Yes.
All right. I was under the impression from that conversation that as long as construction is underway or perhaps imminent, that would qualify within a certain deadline.
No, you would have to request an extension.
Okay.
And you need to be under construction or imminent being construction if you're asking for, you can get a one-year extension to gain an extension.
Yes.
So
okay.
yes.
That makes sense.
Yes,
Thank
okay.
you. Okay. Here's where I am right now. I'm ashamed. I am indeed ashamed as to how this has proceeded, and I'd like to kind of go back a little bit on the calendar just to sort of lay all this out here, perhaps that it makes more sense. In 2012, we offered up this bond measure, and I did indeed vote for this measure. I, at the time, had learned while I was campaigning for alderman where this site would be, and I had some reservations, but I had, at the time, a full faith in this city and in our fire department in order to put this decision before the people in a very open way. Since then, I don't think we've done that. To go back on that timeline, in the early part of 2013, probably around February or March, I mailed a letter to former Fire Chief George Glenn. He still has that letter. Longhand, wrote that letter to him. And I explained to the chief at the time what a sensitive issue this would be, how it would be extremely important that we lay out every facet of this plan, with public meetings, with drawings, with potentially even a model for this plan. Chief Glenn at the time assured me that there would indeed be such an effort, that public meetings would be held to make this prospect known to the citizens, so we would have an open debate about it. Chief Glenn resigned on December the 1st. We had a budget meeting on November the 6th in which, I believe I'm right, both Acting Chief Payne and Chief Glenn attended at that time. Am I correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At that meeting, indeed, there were not any direct concerns, I think, that were related, but Chief Glenn mentioned that letter at that meeting that I wrote him, and indeed reminded me that we would be proactive. Instead, the Friday before Thanksgiving, we send a very cryptic letter to 26 select addresses. We don't notify the press. We don't notify the other aldermen. And then we express the sentiment that 5 people showing up was sort of a mandate that there wasn't that much consternation over this. That's where I'm ashamed. That's where I have lost a good deal of faith. My commitment, in the meantime, indeed I've talked to Acting Chief Payne, which let me be very clear, I hold no responsibility toward Chief Payne at this time. I'm very pleased with the job that he is doing. I'm glad that we've got him. But I also expressed to Chief Payne that if a vote came about for this conditional use permit, I would vote for it. Because, again, I'm operating off of that faith. But in January, I learned of the meeting that took place in December. I learned that we had not been open. I had made the effort to put it forth on Facebook. I received a little fallout from that. And so at this point, that faith is affected. And we need to do our due diligence. And if anything, this crowd has proved that tonight. We need to prove that we have explored all options. Not just in 2008. We've explored all options now. We've explored them in the meantime, and we've done so with the idea that it's important to our citizens and that we need to do the right thing. And so, with respect to Alderman Saunders' motion, I do not believe that 30 days is adequate. I don't believe at this point that I have the faith that that 30 days we're going to accomplish a great deal. And so, accordingly, I would make a motion that we lay on the table Resolution 2014-15. We can take this up at another time, but we owe it to the residents to do the right thing because we won't get a second chance.
Was that a motion?
Yes,
Yes, sir,
we
it
made a
was.
motion.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to get your words, lay this on the table?
Yes, sir. To lay Resolution 2014-15 on the table.
I'm sorry, I'm a little unclear. You wanted to delay it or go ahead and vote on it tonight?
No, to table it, sir.
Until it's brought up again by this council.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, and I've got lots of lights on, but we have a motion. Well, I have 2 motions, but you can do that. We got to vote on them in reverse order, though. So yeah. So the latest motion is what we're discussing at this time. It gets very complicated. But so if you got comments to this latest motion by Alderman Lewis, I'd be happy to hear from you at this time. And man, I've lost track of who turned on when.
You don't have to worry about
All right. No, you're okay?
For right now.
Oh, for right now, okay. Alderman Kelly, you want to speak on this motion?
Yes, I do.
Okay, all right, Alderman Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree. I don't like the way this thing was handled with the public. But we have a bond issue that's been funded, and I'm not for tabling this indefinitely. We need to set some times, a time frame, revisit this issue, and move forward. We need the second station. We've heard the mayor mention the ISO rating twice.
Mm-hmm.
The ISO rating affects every homeowner's insurance in this community. And we do not want to see our ISO rating change because we don't have the emergency support services we need. So I am not for tabling it. I'm for moving forward. If 30 days isn't appropriate, then they can put a third motion out there. But in my opinion, we do not need to table this issue. We need to attack it head on and figure out exactly where we're going to take the emergency preparedness of this community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Kelly. Alderman Saunders, did you have a comment on this?
He is on this.
Yes, sir.
First, before I say something, can you give us a feel for the time frame with respect to the bond issue? In other words, we have a suspense date to have it completed, or we can get an extension. What date are we looking at? Do you know?
January 2nd, 2013 is when the original bonds were issued. We have 3 years from that date. So January 2nd, 2016 is when the construction needs to be pretty well done. It's kind of the way the bond issues are. Now, you can get a 1-year extension, and we've done that in the past. So if construction is underway, I mean, they're typically going to grant you the extension. So, but it's just, in all the documents, it says this is a 3-year construction period.
Okay, second question. I've seen the plans, I haven't seen an estimated construction time on this. Have you heard anything about that? How long does it take to build this?
12 to 16 months, depending on weather.
So we do have some time in here.
We do have some, yes, if we get started soon.
Okay. Now, I'm not sure about the tabling. When I suggested, and I'm not defending this, my motion, but it's my understanding that if at the end of 30 days, if we don't feel like we've accomplished our goals, we can then reconvene at City Council and add another 30 days or 60 or whatever it is. And I'm not saying right now that I'm against tabling it indefinitely, but I think we do need to keep an eye on the time frame here. Mm-hmm. And in order to keep working forward, if we have definite dates to work with, hey, we got 30 days, we're going to do as much as we can. That's different from saying this thing is tabled and we'll bring it up someday when we get it done. Okay? We've got a time frame to work on. So that's all I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Alderman Mosley?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Alderman Lewis that we need a little bit more time than 30 days probably to do it right, and I would like to see the folks that the residents that are out here and their group to somehow or another be involved, whether they get together and elect 3 or 4 people to work closely with the mayor or whatever. I'd like to see that, because what I would like to see is that the final choice is obvious to everybody. And I think once the numbers are looked at, the locations are looked at, and everything else, I think everybody will agree which is right. And so however the process goes, I would like to see the mayor work with it, and perhaps Alderman Lewis and Birch Johnson if they want to be involved, because it's their area, and I would like to be involved too. But I don't want to clutter it up with just a god-awful group, a huge group. But I would like to see it get to the point where everybody does go, yeah, this is obviously the best way to go.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Mosley. Alderman Johnson?
Got a couple of things here that, one of the things I want to emphasize is that the people voted, and I may be wrong on my dollars, $6 million to build a road to the third entrance. Hey, right now, there's more development going on out east, if that's the direction, out there by the ballpark. That's where a lot of going on and extending the property lines. We're already going to spend $6 million, so keep that in mind. It's going to be immediately some shifting that way. If we build the road out to the third entrance, that's going to be Maumelle property. I assume it'll be developed, whether it be commercial, whether it be residential. So there's a big push. Now, we can talk about Star Farms. Star Farms is a long ways away. This is not. We've already voted $6 million, and these people voted for it. $6 million to put in a road out there to change the development. And I would like to say one thing, and I'd like to ask the fire chief to come up and be honest with us. I heard this ISO rating. I've been told they come in every 15 years. I don't know if that's true. I'd like to him to get up and tell us how often they come in and everything like that. And I agree with you. It could raise our rate or lose our rate. It's my understanding we're not going to be a 1 or 2 probably ever. But we might, hopefully one day we might be able to achieve it. But by the same time, I'd like to know how often they come in and when was the last time they came in.
Thank you, sir. John Payne, Interim Fire Chief, City of Maumelle. First of all, I'd like to thank the council and the constituents that are here for the support of the fire department, because I assure you our main focus is to save the lives and property of the citizens of this city. And we are diligent in that. There's several questions probably, Alderman Johnson, I'd like to get to, if you don't mind, which should clarify a lot of the things up you're talking about. One of them is a map over here. It's pretty obvious that the overlap is not as much as if we were moving further south. This location was chosen by a study group, and you're right, it doesn't have to be exactly at that piece of property, but it needs to be in that area. And one of the things that I've been working on as the interim chief is an extended plan, because we found that about 2010 we ran out of a plan for the fire department, and it hasn't been upgraded since that time. So, and you're correct, I'm trying to look at where the third station needs to be and stuff like that, so we don't have this huge overlap that we have right now. And one of the things that has to happen, one of the things that I like to say, and I believe it's a very true statement, is the fire department is one of the few government entities that puts money back in the taxpayer's pocket from less revenue having to write those premiums for your homeowners and things like that. Well, the same thing also happens in the business area. And I see the third entrance out there without a fire station in that area eventually becoming a problem to get the insurance that the people need to come in to develop that generates the taxes that offsets our cost for fire service out there. So it is kind of a whole mix. You know, it's like a pizza. It's got a lot of stuff in a lot of different places, and you're not sure which bite you're going to get sometimes. But realistically, that is part of our planning, is to make sure that we don't have that overlap again and we can generate that revenue. To give you an example about what the fire department does for you, I had a gentleman call me about a year and a half ago, and he said, I am an agent for a company that is willing to locate in your jurisdiction. And he said, I have some very specific questions to ask of the fire department. And I said, yes, sir, I'd be glad to answer those. He said, can you tell me what your ISO rating is? I said, it's a 3. He says, very good. He writes that down. You can hear him in the background scratching. A little while later, he says, can you tell me the physical locations of your fire stations? He wanted to know the exact address so he could draw it on a map and do the time and distance studies that we're talking about with the 1.5 miles. That question was answered adequately enough for him. Then he wanted to know what our own duty staffing was that day, which at that time was a minimum of 2 at each station. That is a very, very, very minimal. Okay. We have, because of the aggressive work of the captains in the fire department right now, we have moved that to a 5 right now. We have 5 on duty on every shift, and we're steadily moving towards that. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, towards the end of that, he said, can you tell me about how much water would flow? I'd answered all the questions affirmatively. He said, can you tell me what the water flow is on Champs Boulevard? Well, at that time, I was pretty sure I knew where he was going with this conversation. And I said, no, sir, I can't. And the reason for that is we found ourselves in a situation where we were developing sprinkler plans and buildings being built on a fireman reading a gauge. And I said, we'd be glad to assist you. So we provide the labor, basically, when someone comes to town like that. And he called me back a little while after we'd set up that appointment and said, you flowed 5,200 and some odd gallons of water, which passed. And he said, I'm going to recommend that we insure this property. So on that, the former Scholastics building became Little Rock Logistics, which houses Leisure Arts, which kept an Arkansas company from leaving the state. So the ISO rating is important. You're correct in that normally they come in about every 15 years. Okay? There is nothing that says that you can't ask for them to come in earlier if you've made the improvements to do that. One of the things that I'm looking at in the interim is what it would do to drop our rating and what that would do to our constituents' insurance. So again, we're trying to look at the whole picture, provide a long-range plan, and make sure that the citizens are covered in every direction. Is there anything else from the council?
When were they last here, Chief? The ISO, was it?
I believe it was about 3 years ago, sir.
Yes, sir. I think it was 2012, I believe is when it was. Yes, sir.
One of the things that you look at on that is there's a huge formula that comes down to whether you're a 1, which is the very best department out there, or you're a 10 and you don't have a fire department. So to get to that 1 to 10 is a lot of calculations, formulas, and things that plug in, water supply, dispatch, all kinds of different things like that. But what happens in that process is we're, to the best of my knowledge, because I never got to see it, Chief Glenn had it, is we were at about a 3.5, which tells me that with a half a percentage point in the formula, we could slide to a 2, which may be great for our insurance, or with a half a percentage going in the wrong directions because of poor station placement, not enough manpower, we could slide into a 4, which I assure you probably won't be very good for our constituents.
Okay. One question, I measured from where the proposed location is, I drove all the way out to where the construction's going on out there, and I think that's 2.5 miles out to where the construction's going on in Country Club of Arkansas. So we'll still be quite a bit short of 1.5. And I was told also at one time it wasn't the distance as much as it was the time factor. You know, where 6 to 8 minutes was the key.
We deal with both of those. There is a percentage of time about distance, and there's also the road miles too are both figured into the formula.
Right.
So yes, that is correct. That is another reason for the overlapping in eventually a third station covering that expansion out in that direction of the third. I mean, it's real. You know, like I said, we voted to extend the road out there, and you can certainly see it coming down the freeway right now. So I mean, it's something we need to be preparing for. And again, we haven't had a plan, and I'm developing one at this time.
Okay, good.
And there is an issue in the ISO where a ladder truck needs to be within 2.5 miles to get full credit.
That is correct.
And that ladder truck is used primarily in the commercial areas and in the industrial areas. So and Station 2 is where that ladder truck is planned to be housed. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So if you move it further south and east, then you're moving it further away from the industrial park also. So
one of the things that a ladder truck.
Excuse me, I'm not suggesting much further south. I'm suggesting somewhere Country Club Boulevard is a major artery at some point within the next 3 years. You know, using the bond issue as the guideline, that we'll have a road out there, and it's just a matter of when they develop.
Well, one of the things that you had alluded to at one time was the property behind the bank off of.
Doesn't have to be there.
Well, that one, we went ahead and looked at that, and what that did is everything on Odom from Manitou on was pretty well out of that, was out of the 1.5 miles. Yeah. And we have to, realistically, in the area that we're talking about now, is the best for coverage to make sure that our insurance and everything stays where it should be.
Well, I would like to say, and since you brought that up, actually, I did measurements both ways. If we'd have located the fire station on the north at Odom or on Bingler, we'd have been pretty well set from the north end and from the south end. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's gone and everything like that. But I want to make sure, what I'm trying to say is this location is as good as we can get from the people standpoint, for the location standpoint, and I don't want it to be slammed down anybody.
No.
I want it to be the best location that we as a council can agree upon with the people involved.
I believe it is.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief Payne. Alderman Norris.
The first thing I wanted to say is that I'm in favor of the ordinance to, or the motion to delay this resolution until April 21st. We'll have ample opportunity at that time that if we don't think that we have gotten the information we need to assess the situation best, that we can postpone it additionally. I'm afraid if we table something before we actually have the opportunity to do the homework that we need to be doing, then that'll have negative impact. I also think it's fairly foolish to build a fire station considering anticipated growth while neglecting the residents that are already here. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration also. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Norris. Alderman Lewis.
I'd like to put the dates into perspective, but just say one more thing here. You know, we had the opportunity to walk this back tonight. We didn't have to have this on the agenda. I'd asked for it not to be, and it was. And we've already gone and had this meeting. I don't want to have this meeting again in 30 days. And so, there is that loss of confidence right now, and I think we need incentive more than ever to do the right thing now. The old saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. We're talking about dates here that are quite a bit in the future. January of 2016 is when we need to have construction completed, otherwise at least underway, where we could ask for an extension, so it could be into January of 2017. It's quite a ways off. In addition, the ISO rating of 15 years from 2012 would be 2027. We have a lot of time to plan ahead until now and then. And this thought also about the bonds and being careful about them, I'd like to point out we have not had any tangible progress on either Crystal Hill Road or the Counts Massey extension, which was a $9.8 million bond. And right now, again, fire is very important. Coverage is important. But I ask you, which impacts you more right now? The fire station locations, which if 2012 was when we got approved by the ISO, are the same locations we have right now. Which impacts you more? The fire station locations or the traffic on Maumelle Boulevard? We need that third road. Again, let's put all this into perspective, but let's have the incentive that we can do the right thing, and let's move quickly. Absolutely. I'm not advocating for a prolonged tabling of this, but once we have some plans in order, once we have been shown that we've done our due diligence, then let's come right back here. And again, if we come back, as unpopular as it may be, if that is the only option available to us, then we'll do the right thing. But let's get it right.
Okay, is there any more discussion on Alderman Lewis's motion of tabling the issue?
Yes.
Okay, Alderman Anderson.
I still think that we could revisit this in 30 days, and then that's when we can decide whether we need to table this for a further discussion. I think we should allow the city to have the opportunity to get more information on entering in negotiations or whatever it is that we need to do to try to acquire the other property. But I also am worried that if we table this discussion, that we're going to get that same mentality that a high schooler does. Well, I don't have to worry about that until senior high. No, we need to worry about that right now because, like Alderman Lewis said, it is something that's affecting you right now. It's something that we need to address right now. Now, I know that it's not a popular thing to kick the can down the road, but I think this is something that's going to keep us in check. And if we put a date on rediscussing this and having tangible timelines, then we all, the city and the constituency and the council, are going to be more motivated to make sure that we have the best outcome for this situation.
Thank you, Alderman Anderson. Alderman Hogue?
Now, are we getting ready to vote on the 30-day extension?
No, we'll vote on the tabling the issue first.
Well, I just have to say that I agree with Alderman Anderson. I think that we need to do the 30 days. It doesn't mean we have to be through, but if we're not through, then we can add another 30 days. But I believe that we have the ability to at least make progress. I think the 30-day extension is the way to go.
Okay. Is there any more discussion on the motion to table the issue until it's brought back by the council? Did you say roll call?
I didn't, but I'm just
All right.
anticipating.
Okay. If all those in favor of tabling the issue until the council brings it back up, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no.
No.
Let's do a roll
call vote, please.
Okay, roll call vote.
Alderman Lewis?
Yes.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman Norris?
No.
Alderman Hogue?
No.
Alderman Mosley?
Yes.
Alderman Saunders?
No.
Alderman Kelly?
No.
Alderman Anderson?
No.
5-3.
5-3. Two was
Fails.
It fails 5-3. Alderman Johnson.
Could I ask a question and everything, and it's real important. are we going to ask the people to come back here in 30 days? Or, okay, there you go. That's great.
And this hadn't even, okay, and this hasn't come to a vote yet, but if in 30 days we haven't made significant progress, you'll see on the agenda that I would probably ask for another 30-day deferral on that. It's just like I said when I mentioned earlier, if we didn't make enough progress, the one thing I want to point out, when you start looking at another area, let's say anywhere, you move it anywhere else in Maumelle. Now, right now, most of these residents are from Club Manor and Hogan area. I mean, in that area. No, okay, all right. But I know where some of y'all are from. I know where some live. But then we may have a whole nother neighborhood come in if you try to move it to another. So that's something we got to think about. If it's moved to another location, you could have other constituents affected by it. So, Alderman Johnson.
I got to make one statement along those lines. I do not believe that it was a neighborhood thing as much as it was the changing of an open space that was people bought their houses and everything. Hey, I believe Jan Hogue has an open space right next to her house. Is that correct?
I used to have an open space. Now that belongs to AT&T. They live out there 24/7. They block my driveway. They throw their debris out there. I would love to have a house or even the fire station there.
But anyway.
And while I've got my light on, I do have one thing to say. I realize that the people that are here are very concerned and they don't want that fire station in their back door. That being said, I got lots of emails from, I assume, all of you people. I did not get one email from somebody in my ward that was complaining about where the fire station is going to go. And I'm sure there are a couple of other wards that probably are the same way. I just want us to put it in perspective. There was 10 people that spoke tonight, and I understand that you're very concerned. But the other 17,000 plus people, that's their money too.
Oh, wait.
I believe everybody in Maumelle knows about it tonight. I saw it on the news.
Okay. All right. We have another motion on the floor, and it's delay this item till April the 21st. Is there a discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no.
No.
6-2. Motion passes. Resolution 2014-15 is delayed until April the 21st. Now, okay, and Alderman Johnson was right. I mean, is your direction to me to bring back to the council possible locations with some pricing? Now, it would be based on their listed prices, not an actual contract with somebody. I mean, that's what I'm going to try to bring back to the council at the next meeting is what I'm going to try to do. So if that's okay with everybody.
Mr. Mayor, do you need our authorization to enter in any more negotiation other than just getting the sticker value?
Well, any kind of, even if there was, the mayor could actually begin a negotiation and bring it to the council for approval. That would be a contingency on the offer or any other discussion.
Yeah. I could make an offer, but it would be not binding on the city until the council approved
Which
it.
is exactly what happened in 2008. That's just generally how
And I would hate to see you restricted if you found something that was affordable and you made that decision, then you could bring it back.
Well, there's two things I've got to do. I mean, I think before we get to that point, with the site plan that was done was specifically for that site. So we've got to get with our architects and engineers and determine how much space do we need if it's a more rectangular piece. And so I want to do that before we get down to defining an actual amount that we're going to try to purchase. So, Alderman Norris.
I wanted to clarify. I would like not just the listing price, but some sort of evaluation of how that property would fit into the plan, if that makes sense. I don't know if if there's some sort of assessment that goes into evaluating that location or that proposed location, into the feasibility of putting a department there and still meeting the fire department's goals for coverage. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
So the plan you're talking about is basically the coverage plan.
If it changes.
Where the property is located.
Yes. Well, I mean, the one that's right there that you've talked about that's right at catty corner is fine. I'm just, in case you come across property that's in different locations that isn't one of the ones we've already talked about, just knowing how, something more than just the price of that, but how it would fit into city coverage would be helpful also.
There's not a lot of commercial land available, so we can do that research and define it. I mean, now, in those general areas. I mean, so yeah, I think we can come up with that.
I'm not talking about like a written study or anything like that.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you, Alderman Johnson.
One last question, and this is a question of whether or not we could do it or it would be in our control. But if we had a piece of property that had access to the boulevard, what would we have to go through to get a curb cut? You know, that would involve the state, wouldn't it?
It would.
Yeah, and everything.
And it depends on if you want a curb cut and a median cut, which I think you would need an emergency vehicle facility like that.
That's how we sick them on the state.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you. All right, and I do appreciate everybody coming out. We do appreciate your comments, and thank you very much. And we will, I think you've got a couple of leaders out there. We'll keep them informed of where we're at in the process and let them know also that Ms. Gillum and Mr. Smith that kind of spearheaded some meetings up, and we'll try to keep y'all involved in where we go on this issue. But as of right now, this will be back on the City Council's agenda on April the 21st. It may be there simply to ask for more time. And if there's nothing else on this item, we'll move on to resolution number 2014-16. And you're welcome to leave if you would rather go home and watch TV or something like that. You're welcome. Thank you, Doctor.
Usually we have some big ball game on these nights.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
We have a big ball game on tonight.
No.
Tomorrow night.
Normally there is. Football, basketball, same way.
And then we kind of start.
Is there any NIT games tonight? They're on tomorrow night, right?
I'm not putting it there. I vote exactly the way I feel like the citizens want me to vote. Thanks, Ron. Of course,
Yes. We should have this session among ourselves all the time.
but that's down at Congress. I think that's too far.
Even Jake's gonna leave.
Got a deadline.
Okay, let's just go back to the agenda. The next item is resolution number 2014-16 in support of Maumelle Water Management. Mr. Clerk, if you'd read that by title only.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2014-16, resolution of support of Maumelle Water Management's efforts to convert a public water authority and for other purposes.
Mr. Lewis, do you want to comment on this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did send a lengthy memorandum to all of the council and to the press. I take it everyone received a copy of that. I haven't heard any other indications to the contrary. And so if anyone has any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them. But I think the memorandum is certainly quite thorough, and I apologize for anybody that had to sit through and read all of it.
Do you have a copy of the bylaws?
No, sir, I do not.
You do? Okay, I don't need them right now, but I'd like to get a copy of them. I was in D.C. during that meeting, and so I would like to get a copy of those.
I know I have some
could.
in my car.
Oh, I don't mean right now. I mean tomorrow's fine. But yeah, I'd just like a copy of those.
And this is just
It is a draft.
A draft.
I understand, but and as I understood it, and Mr. Heller was here earlier. I don't know if he's still here.
There
Where's he? There he is. He could. You couldn't get out, huh? But what Mr. Heller and I had a discussion about. We need to go ahead and start getting some applicants to submit to the city council in order to help establish the PWA. Is that correct? Yes, sir. If you don't mind.
I won't say I'll be happy to, but I will. No, I'm happy to. I'm Barry Heller. I'm the general manager of Maumelle Water Management, 90 Lake Point Place. Be happy to answer any questions that you have. Also, be happy to provide you with the bylaws as soon as we get an amended copy, because they've been changed from what's been out there.
Okay. All right. But it's my understanding that you need the city council to take action soon to get applicants to place on the PWA, so that when that PWA is formed, there's 5 people on that commission.
Those
board.
5 people form the PWA. The steps that we're going to right now is we had to get our boundaries established, which we've done. We've got the maps drawn up, and those are ready. The next step that we need to take is to get all 5 names set in concrete, because the paperwork that goes up to ANRC that forms the PWA has to have those 5 names on there. So whatever we need to do to get the other 2 names on there is what needs to happen.
Okay, and I want it very clear that there was a comment made. I saw something in writing where it said basically the city liaisons became part of that PWA. We do not want just the city liaisons that are out there right now to become those PWA board members. And Chief Payne,
It could be that way if the council's desire. Yes,
that's correct. But Chief Glenn and I had this conversation. I've not had it with Chief Payne, but we don't feel like that a city employee should be sitting on that PWA board. And so, in that case, all I'm saying there is that it needs to be somebody that's a citizen that's on that board and not a city employee. Is all I wanted to mention on that aspect, so that I don't. And I think that board would welcome Chief Payne's attending the meetings and all that, because the water department and the fire department work closely together on various issues. So I think the fire chief would still continue to attend those meetings and still be an advisor to that board in an unofficial capacity, I think. So.
We welcome his presence anytime he wishes to grace us.
Okay. All right. All right. I've got lights on here. I don't know if there are questions for Mr. Heller or not. Alderman Lewis.
Mr. Heller, one of the things that has been discussed in the meetings is the need to move rather quickly, and the reason behind that, as I understood it, has to do with looking at the rates related to the bonds. It's obviously a very up and down kind of market. This changeover to a PWA will be in conjunction with a bond refinance.
That's correct.
And so, hence, it would behoove you to move rather promptly, given the current prevailing rates.
Right. Well, the sooner it's done with the rates, we're keeping a close eye on them, and they are slowly going up. Maybe we'll get lucky and they'll go back down, but who knows? We do know that in the past they've gotten pretty high, because one of our issues is up around 6%. We'd like to get rid of it.
Yes, sir.
So that's besides a few other factors, that's the major push to hurry right now is because of the bond rates.
And it's not a process that's necessarily been hurried. It's been one that I know your board has been talking about for some time now.
We've been working on this for a long time.
Yes, right. Thank you.
Alderman Johnson.
Mr. Mayor, I think you probably answered my question when you made the statement, because I would happen to be at their board meeting when it came up, and I asked something about the fire chief, which he's an interim position, and they were looking for a name and everything like that. And you answered it when you said you didn't think a city employee should be on there, and everything, because they wanted real names, I think, right. And since it's an interim right now.
Well, and even if it wasn't an interim, I'd still feel the same way. I would not want the fire chief on that board. Right. So,
okay.
Yep.
And it will be a voting member, is that correct?
Yeah, all 5 members will be voting members.
Okay.
Alderman Mosley.
Yeah, I'm going to have several here before we get through all this. When do you anticipate the PWA that would be actually formed? And is this going to be before you do some bonds or after the bonds?
Yeah, it'll be before the. It has to be before any bonds are issued because, according to our the bond attorney and the securities expert that we asked to come in and talk to us, if we issue bonds now and retire the existing debt and get a lower rate now, when the PWA is formed, then they'll have to reissue those bonds under the name of the new organization, and that reissuance puts us afoul of some IRS rules, which means we become subject to taxes on them. So it's not something we can do that way. So the bonds won't be reissued, or not. They're not going to be reissued at all. There won't be any bonds issued until after the PWA is formed.
When do you anticipate that would be?
I'd like for it to be tomorrow, so that most of this stuff would be behind us and we can concentrate on what we need to concentrate on. But the truth of the matter is, it's going to depend a great deal on you. How soon can you get us 2 names?
I haven't seen bylaws. Last city council meeting was the first time I even heard of this. We invited the MWM to have some formal discussions with the city council on some type of a entity that would make perhaps the selection of the commissioners more democratic. Either the city council have a direct role in appointing, or the residents have some role in voting for commissioners. The MWM declined to meet with us on that, so as far as I know, we've had no formal discussions with MWM on this. I know some of the aldermen have come to your meetings and perhaps made suggestions and done some things in that regard, and I'm glad that they've had some discussions, but it hadn't been formal. All this is kind of new. You've got some bylaws you're talking about. Alderman Lewis's memo is talking about a current draft. I don't know how we can move quickly until we see some documents. I want to see something in writing before we rush into something here. I want to see that all options have been explored. And in that regard, let me ask you this. Is it possible to set up a PWA and have the city council make all the appointments? I mean, is that possible?
That's not my place to comment on, Alderman Mosley.
It may be possible.
That's a question that you should take to the SID commissioners.
Okay.
I don't have the power to affect that one way or the other.
All right. What is the current debt of the MWM?
It's a little over $12 million.
Okay, there was something in a memo I saw, or something in a newspaper talking about $17 million current debt. Is that correct, or
no?
I wonder where the $17 million was. That in your memo, or was that in the newspaper,
No,
perhaps?
No, I made no comments as to the financials.
Okay, that because for some reason I saw 17 somewhere, and I thought, how did it go from 12 to 17 and that sort of thing?
No, the current debt's at a little over 12, about at 13 million, but it's not much over 13 if it's still that much.
All right. I'll pass at this point if somebody else has some other questions.
Alderman Norris.
First of all, I want to thank you for being here, Mr. Heller. I think Maumelle Water Management is moving in the right direction. I think it's great. I have a couple questions that I think I'm confused on. At one point, I believe I understood that the entire 5 board members, as those terms expired, each of those 5 positions would be filled by the city council nominating someone, and then by the current board's approval or selection. I'm not sure what the exact language is. That was my old understanding, and then I read Alderman Lewis's memo, and the impression I got there was that the 3 current would rotate from the SID over into the PWA, and then those 3 here on out would be self-nominating and appointing, while the other 2 seats would be appointed by the city council. Were either of those right?
Those were all options that were discussed.
Okay.
There were several different options that have been thrown around, that have been talked about quite a bit. As it stands now, the latest version is that the directors' positions are going to be labeled 1 through 5.
Okay.
The 3 SID commissioners that we have existing now become directors 1, 2, and 3, and then the city nominates 2, and I could have this a little confused because it's been talked about, but the commission votes on those 2 to accept or reject. If they accept them, then they become positions 4 and 5. The first terms, to keep all commissioners or directors, they won't be commissioners anymore, they're called directors, but to keep the directors from all coming up for reappointment at the same time, the first terms will be on a staggered rotation. Director number 5 will have 2 years, director number 4 will be 3 years, 4, 5, and 6 up to 1 is the way it goes. And then from then on, each director will serve a 6-year term. When the directors 1, 2, and 3 come up for renewal, they have the option of reapplying if they want to, or anybody else does. It's not an automatic reappointment. Whoever wants to apply for position 1, for example, puts their application in. We will advertise for applicants. Anybody that wants to put their application in can put their application in. There will be an interview process, a selection process, and a slate will be chosen, or if there's 2 or 3, maybe all 3 will come up for a vote, and the full board of directors, all 5 of them, will vote on whoever they want. Now that's for 1, 2, and 3. When 4 and 5 come open, the city picks their applicants and they present them to the directors, and all 5 existing directors vote on the applicants, including the one that's going out. He'll get to vote on his successor. So we get a full slate. We don't have any 4-vote ties or anything like that. And it's my understanding that that's the latest version to come down, to be put forth.
Okay. And then the other 2 seats, 4 and 5, go through the council nominating, and then, okay.
Council picks those 2, and the directors get to accept them or to reject them. If they reject them, then the directors go back and ask the council to pick or supply another name or some other names. But they don't pick those applicants, they just ratify them, or they vote for them or against them.
Okay.
But the council picks them.
I wanted to thank you all for volunteering sort of to include the city council and elected officials in the management. I know y'all didn't have to do that. We couldn't force you, or I'm unaware of anyway, that we could have, or whether we wanted to. So I think that's a great move. I'm a little bit hesitant at the fact that the city nominated board or directors will always be in the minority, in that there are only seats 4 and 5, so 2 out of the 5 would come through the. I see a head shaking. Am I wrong? Or,
you're wrong.
Okay. Well, that's why I'm.
Practically speaking, it won't be that way.
Ms. Payton, I'm sorry. I'm going to make you come to the.
I was unable to make the last meeting, so that's why I'm asking.
Those 3 directors, those 2 directors won't be in. It's a combination. All 5 directors get to vote. So after the first initial slate, it's pretty much up to to those 5 people, not just 3 of them.
I'm Mary Payton. I'm one of the commissioners for MSID 500. I live at 153 Hibiscus Drive in Maumelle. And yes, I do understand your concern, but please remember this, because it is very, very important for all of you to remember this. Our chairman of MSID 500's Board of Commissioners right now was your liaison.
You picked it.
You picked him, we didn't. We when we had a vacancy, we interviewed. He was the best person qualified. He was selected. So speaking practically, that's what you're going to see. And, you know, the reason for maintaining it the way that we're trying to do it right now is for continuity and to make sure that we don't lose our personnel. They are the heart of the entire organization. If we start losing them, then you lose. So we're trying really hard to maintain the continuity and the confidence of that staff of highly qualified, highly licensed people. So does that kind of answer your question? Sort of, kind of.
You're saying it's kind of factually right, but that in reality what happens is as the board members go, there isn't this dichotomy between the city council appointed and the other 3. Is that what you're saying?
There won't be. There's no way to differentiate between the 5 directors. They all have equal say.
Equal voting rights.
They all have equal votes.
But the seats are appointed or filled in different ways. 1 through 3 are filled one way, and 4 and 5 are filled another.
1, 2, and 3 are picked by the directors.
Okay.
4 and 5 are picked by the council.
Okay.
But
originally, 1,
2, and 3 are also picked by the directors that the council picked.
Yes.
It's not the way it was. One. I hate this word, but one scenario was that Director 1, 2, and 3 would pick their replacements, and 4 and 5 wouldn't have anything to say about it. That's one scenario that we looked at, and as it was pointed out, that probably was not a very good way to do it, and I happen to agree with that.
I do too.
And the 3 commissioners also agreed with that viewpoint, so they did not go that way. They set it up this way. In a lot of ways, I don't have a dog in this hunt. It's not my choice. I'm an employee. I get told what to do. I do what I'm told. All I can do is try to explain to you what's going on. I can give you my opinion as a professional in this field. And my opinion is that this is the best solution to this problem that I can see. It gives the utility the independence that it needs, the freedom from severe political pressure that a lot of utilities come under. It gives them freedom from a lot of that, but it also gives them accountability to you to a certain extent. I think both the staff and the city council and the citizens of Maumelle are getting the best compromise that can be made in this situation.
I absolutely think it's a step in the right direction. The bylaws, when do they become official? Is that after you get the 5 and then they vote on them?
No.
It goes in front of ANRC to be approved. ANRC is a governing body that oversees all public water authorities. We have to submit bylaws, articles of
incorporation.
Yeah.
That's not what it's called.
No, it's not articles of incorporation, but it's something close to
that. And here's why I'm asking is we have a resolution supporting y'all. I think y'all are going in the right direction, maybe not all the way where I'd want it to be, but definitely I'm not going to oppose it because I didn't get my whole cake and cherry too. It's in the right direction, so I support it. But I don't want to support something if then it's, and I'm not saying y'all would intentionally do this or even accidentally do it, but you go back and then totally change the bylaws and say every person nominated for the board has to be hated by 7 out of the 8 city. It's just a ridiculous example, but do we have any assurances that the bylaws don't change?
The bylaws will have to be, I'll let you.
Or the nomination process?
The bylaws will have to be approved in a public meeting.
Okay.
With this is not something that we can go into a closed room and huddle over a table and scribble down something down. They're going to be approved in a public meeting. I'm sure there's probably going to be more than one meeting so that people have a chance to look at it and voice their concerns. That's usually the way we do things.
And the documents are still being drafted at this time. You were at the, no.
Not the last one, the one before.
Okay, yeah.
We were.
That's correct, yes. Yes, Alderman Johnson and Lewis were there. And it was discussed in detail how we would like to see that structure done. And Stuart Hankins, who is the attorney for MSID 500, is actually doing the redrafting now. We've not seen the new draft item. As soon as we have it, I'm assuming that Mr. Heller will be happy to send it to you.
Yeah, I'll send it
Yes.
to the.
Well, thank y'all. And thank y'all for being here.
Thank you.
I truly believe no one is getting everything they want. I'm not.
I'm not.
Definition of good.
I want you to just sign the utility over to me and it'll be mine.
You don't want that.
You want $12 million a day?
You'd get all the griping.
He does
want
anyway.
No more.
Okay.
No
No
more.
more.
Alderman Kelly, excuse me.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quickly, I want to thank you for your efforts. I know it's taken a lot of work. There's a lot of turmoil there with your employees trying to restructure any business like this. So let me just condense this down. What we need to do as a council is find 2 appointees for the interim. So when they stand up, we can move quickly because their bond issue is dependent on how quickly they can form this new structure.
Could I add one more thing with that?
Yes, sir.
It goes into what you're saying. All we need is 2 names. A month after the PWA is formed, you can appoint these people with the understanding that they're going to resign.
Okay?
They can resign at any time.
That's my point. So we need to have the names ready and an ordinance probably made up to recognize the PWA, to put these 2 appointees in place.
I don't know that we need an ordinance.
Okay, just, I'm asking.
I think a resolution would be fine, and, or even a motion, actually, to appoint them. You typically would appoint someone to a board or commission
With a motion.
by a motion, so.
And it might be that we can just amend the resolution that we had for the liaisons that we had. It's
To an appointee.
to appointee to the PWA. Just change the terminology in that resolution.
Because I know they're fighting this timeline.
Right. Well, and it might be, and I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know if it could be a city council member, 2 city council members in the interim, or I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking. I don't know. I mean, that may be a question of. That's a question for the attorneys, and a question for for the council if that's what they want to do on the interim, and then.
But we get to pick which one.
I understand the bylaws, and that's your call.
Okay, all right.
Oh, my God.
Well,
To accept or not accept.
I understand that. But if it's a temporary appointment, that's what I'm saying, and that might be the thing, is just to get 2 names up there so that we're not having to take applications from citizens and then 3 months from now say, thank you for your service. Yeah.
And that's my point. I think we need to have an interim selection made so that they can move as quickly as possible as soon as this thing happens.
I agree.
Otherwise, it's protracted, and we're part of that problem.
Right.
We don't need to be part of the problem.
And if I could just get into the mechanics of it for just a minute, we're not really talking about refinancing the bonds now. That was the original discussion, was that MSID 500 was researching the possibility of doing some bond refinancing. the way the structure now is that the PWA will be created, and then the PWA will actually borrow the funds through the sale of bonds or some other method, and they will purchase a portion of the assets from MSID 500, which will allow the existing debt to be paid off. And then the PWA will be making its own decisions about how they're going to be moving forward. So that will be the structure. I had a lot of concerns about the refinancing, and then the new commissioners coming, the new board of directors coming in, and what kind of liability would be there for the previous commissioners and MSID 500, and it was very difficult for me to get my brain around it. But it's perfectly clear to me now the way that we can handle it, and it will work.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Johnson?
Yes, I want to ask, really, I want to make one statement, but then I want to qualify it and make sure, Mary, I say this right. First of all, I'd like to thank y'all, because I don't know how long the water thing has lasted and everything, but this is the biggest step that I have seen since I've been in Maumelle, and I really do appreciate it and everything like that. And as Mary pointed out to me one night, most of this open space and all this land that we have is by virtue of what they did.
That's right.
They're the one that got it, gave it to the city and everything like that. I never realized that, but they are the ones that did it. Now they're making a good step to come back as part of the city and everything. I just think it's a great movement for the city of Maumelle and
I agree.
Holden. Thank you very much.
I think it is too. And it's been going on for 25 years.
25, okay.
Alderman Lewis?
Since time is of the essence, and rather than wait until the next meeting of the commissioners, one thing I would encourage as I left the meeting the other night and I thought of this, and this probably goes without saying, but if it is at all possible, according to your legal counsel, I would explore the option of language, if necessary, that stipulates that the outgoing member recuse themselves if he or she is re-upping for another placement on the board during that process that they're recused, and the purpose of which, and Mr. Ralph Kearney, who's a current commissioner, is here this evening, and I think Ralph's still here. Ralph's here. I think Ralph would not shy. Yes, sir. I think Ralph would not shy away from saying this, but his resignation from the board is imminent, provided once this process is complete.
I didn't interrupt, but
no, sir.
The whole point is when the diverse group that we have as commissioners, when we leave, we want to be able to say one thing: it's better than when we got it. Okay, and it's for the city, it's for the ratepayers. We're looking out for the best interest. And once all this is done and going in the right direction, I plan on getting out of here, and I don't plan on coming back.
And the reason I brought that up is that Mr. Kearney, once he departs, there is that balance right there when you have two folks from the city to make that decision, and there's going to be some input there. And one other thing I just would point out is if there was a sort of a changing of the goalposts, and you guys were to go back on your anything similar to what you've shown us, then obviously we could issue another resolution where we could express our dissatisfaction. But in addition, those SID statutes, which go way back, I mean, they're a beast of the 50s perhaps.
70s, maybe 40s.
Right. Those statutes have kept you guys, I think, shackled to a point where you cannot enact some changes with your board. Now with the PWA, just because this is the way it's always going to be doesn't necessarily mean that you have to maintain that. So in perpetuity, at some point it is possible that there could be 3 members on that board that are appointed by the city, if that is the decision of that PWA board. So I think this leaves a little bit of daylight there, and I thank you all for your hard work on this process.
The board could be increased to 7. I mean, there's all kinds of flexibility once we move from the Suburban Improvement District into the PWA.
That'd be a good idea when we get 50,000, 70.
Yes.
7 commissioners or directors would be probably
Makes sense.
acceptable.
You can find
Just
it.
like Central CWAW.
Thank
You're correct. PWA has a lot more flexibility than the SID has.
Much more.
Alderman Mosley?
Before I forget, I've been meaning to thank Alderman Lewis for taking a stab at a hard memo, trying to talk about an animal that's hard to get your hands around, and I appreciate your I appreciate you getting your head in it and trying to make that memo. I'd like to ask Ms. Payton. I'd asked before, is it possible? Is there any reason why a new, what we call PWA, is that it? Why it could not be all city appointed or even set up to where residents elect the members of that new board?
I don't believe that is a part of the established ANRC regs. Barry, can you better answer that? As far as the city selection or the democratic selection, as you so frequently refer to, I don't know why that would be a good idea. And, once again, the continuity of trying to move through this transition will not be easy. It's very time consuming. It's going to take a lot of coordinating. It's going to take a lot of work. And I can't think of any reason why that would be a good idea. Do I think it's not possible? I have no idea. But it's certainly not what's on the table right now.
Mr. Kearney.
2 words, time and money. We really need time to expedite this. Money it would cost an election. And whose pocket was it going to come out of? Then we'd argue between the city or the ratepayers. That's the question that you need to consider. Basically, we're looking at a time frame moving forward faster with continuity here and just go that direction.
Okay,
That's what I'm looking at.
Got some more questions. I keep hearing the word nominate and appoint used interchangeably as far as the involvement of the city council. Do I understand that what we do is we throw some names out? If you don't like any of the names, you can actually refuse them and ask us to come up with other names, or pick somebody that's not nominated?
No, we can't pick anybody that's not nominated.
Right.
The way the bylaws are written at this time, the city gives nominations to the board of directors. The board of the directors votes on those nominations the same as they vote on the nominations for the other 3. If they vote to reject that nomination comes back to the city council, and the city council then can push that one back forward again if they want to, or they can give us they can present a totally new nomination.
And I don't think that we've actually made a firm decision yet. I mean, is the city going to just send us one applicant? Are they going to send 2 or 3? That hasn't been decided yet.
So there's a lot of things still in flux.
Oh well, of course it is.
All right.
You got to see the bylaws.
Yeah.
I mean we've got to get the bylaws.
I really think a resolution that to try to vote on something tonight is just the timing's not there. I think we need to see something in writing. We need to see what the final rules are, because I think if we vote on this resolution and pass it, it's almost like we're putting our stamp of approval on what's going on. We don't really know exactly what's going on. So I guess I would make a motion that we table this until we see some written things and have something we can really vote on, something that's hard. Again, let's try to get it right and that sort of thing. So I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion to table resolution number 2014-16. Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. I do want to point out there's nothing in here that binds the city council to anything. It's a resolution of support for what they're going through. So this doesn't say that the council appoints two directors. It doesn't say anything. So the resolution it's similar to the one that was done last year that said just the opposite, basically. And so this is making amends that I think that it's supporting. So I'm not downplaying that. I'm just saying that there's nothing in here, and Madam City Attorney, correct me, that the City Council is saying that they do anything other than appreciate the efforts that MSID 500 is going and MWM are going through right now. So
One other question, does this resolution help you go through the process? Is it kind of like when the Board of Natural Resources or whatever looks at this, are they going to say, oh, you do have approval of this resolution?
ANRC will hold public meetings, and at that point, if there are any problems with the proceedings, then you'll have every opportunity to voice your objection. So the answer to that is no.
Okay.
One thing I'd like to point out in the future, a request, I should say, the board is formed, has a diverse background, and that's what, and we are committed, and we get no pay. We are committed to being there once a month, and we're asking for that persons bring in a diverse background like we already have that can contribute from different areas and be committed to once a month at least being at meeting, because it takes, even a new person, it takes a year or two just to get used to how things are run or how utilities run. And most of the time you sit down and you listen and then ask questions, the new people. And that's going to happen. So keep that in mind. And that's all I ask, because I want the person replacing me committed just like my fellow commissioners have been. And that's it.
thank you, Mr. Kearney. Alderman Hogue?
I was going to say, in the interest of time, I would like for you to ask for a couple of volunteers to be interim commissioners for them, so they would have those names and they can proceed. And those interim commissioners would know that when they actually get set up, they're going to resign. And
Okay, are you talking about interim commissioners from the council?
yes, they need two people.
Okay, all right. Okay. I would not suggest that we do that tonight. I don't think they need it tonight, but I mean, if you're interested in serving in that position, I'd say contact me, and then we'll try to do it at the next meeting. But until we have the final bylaws, I don't think we take any action on the council so that the council can look at it. Now, that's Mike Watson talking.
And that's fine with me.
But,
I just, we had said they needed two names.
well, I think that as soon as they can, I think they're shooting. I mean, I heard in the meeting that I attended that one night, maybe June, to try to have this done by June. And I mean, there's a lot of legal work that has to be done and all in there.
Actually, it was January of last year. I mean, December of last year, but it's all right.
Well, I was talking about the meeting we had the other night that with the bond counsel there and other writers. I think June was thrown out of trying to move forward. So, I mean,
So you've still got some time.
a little bit of time, but I mean, it's kind of like anything else. You don't want to delay it. So if sometime in April we could do something, I think that'd be a possibility for them.
And the transition can't take place until the new board is in place and the existing commissioners then will actually affect the sale.
And the only reason I suggested council a while ago is to not go through the application process. I don't want to short any citizens that want to be involved in it and all that. And so that's the only reason I suggested council. I mean, you could appoint Mr. Andrews, that's currently a liaison, as one of those, but know that he's on there temporarily until this is resolved, and one council member too, if you choose to do that. I thought of his name also earlier, but I'm okay with two council members. I'm okay with whatever y'all do to help them go ahead and form the PWA.
And I would also like to remind all of you that we have regular meetings. We actually had a special called meeting a couple of weeks ago for the purpose of trying to get some of these details ironed out. And I invite all of you to please attend the meetings. That's the way you're going to know what's happening. I try to attend all of your meetings if I possibly can, so that I can keep up with what's going on here and make sure that we're meshed in some way in the directions that you're going in and that we're going in. And it would be very difficult to know what's going on if you haven't actually taken part in it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Lewis?
Make a motion we approve Resolution 2014-16.
Second.
It's been motion second that the council approve resolution number 2014-16. I do want to say one thing. I do think it's a step in the right direction. One of the things that I've heard since I've been mayor is we want more members on whatever we call it, the commission, the PWA board, the directors or whatever. That's what I've been hearing for the last 7+ years, and this is a step in that direction. And I think Alderman Norris said it, that maybe it's not everything you want, maybe the cherry's not on top of there, but it's a step in the right direction. I appreciate Alderman Lewis's rather detailed memo. It helped me because I missed the last meeting. It helped me get back up to speed on it, and so I appreciate that very much. And is there any discussion on the motion to approve resolution number 2014-16? Alderman Mosley?
Again, I'd like to emphasize that what they're doing is not the result of any formal negotiations or conversations between the two parties. This is something they've done unilaterally. Perhaps folks will eventually say, yeah, it was a step in the right direction, but I don't think they've gone or are going to go far enough in making this new entity accountable to the people and the residents of Maumelle and the users of MSID 500 or whatever it is going to become. I will be voting no on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Mosley. Alderman Saunders?
Thank you, Mayor. You know, we've had, as a city, a pretty good working relationship with Maumelle Water Management for many years. That is, until the last year or two. Now, they've had a lot of arrows shot at them, and they are not and have not ever been responsible to us. What we're talking about tonight is complimenting them for making an effort to try to work better with us in spite of those arrows. I learned a long time ago, what's that old saying? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, and this is a bite that they're taking. So I compliment them, and I'm proud of them for doing this. It may not be the ultimate, the perfect thing, but it's a step in the right direction. And if you never take that first step, you're never going to get there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman.
And by the way, I do have a question. I have something personally to say about Maumelle Water Management, but it doesn't have to do with this particular vote. Do I say that after we vote here? But it's directed at water management.
Yeah. I would recommend you say it after the vote, and that way most of Maumelle Water Management will still be here.
Okay.
They may leave after we take this vote.
And you know what it's about.
I understand. Okay. Yes, sir. Is there any other discussion on approval of resolution number 2014-16? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no.
No.
Motion passes. Alderman Saunders, would you like to make your comment?
I would. Thank you, Mayor. As a follow-up to what I was just saying about all the arrows that have been shot at them, there's been a lot of negative comments, a lot of negative talk, a lot of negative about Maumelle Water Management. I believe in giving credit where credit's fair due, and I would like to take just a couple of minutes of your time to relay a personal story about Maumelle Water Management. First of all, I'm not going to tell you about the number of times that I have talked to Barry Heller, and he has personally met me on citizens' properties to help with situations. And by golly, he has yet to fail the citizens that I've been involved with. Water management's always done it. Now, my personal story. During this real cold snap that we had just a short time ago, I have a water sprinkler system, and it broke out there in the backyard. I didn't catch it for a day and a half until finally I went out there and noticed that I was raising the level of the Arkansas River. And come to find out, I caught the meter reader. I'll approximate it. I dumped about 38,000 gallons of water into that river. Needless to say, I was kind of worried about my water bill. So I called water management, and they said they have a one-time adjustment available for the citizens. I wasn't aware of that. I was sitting here sweating over this water bill that's going to smack me. And you know what? And now, they did ask that I bring in something to show that the correction was made or that it was repaired, what have you. No problem. They brought my last water bill, it was reflected in there, and they adjusted my water bill back to my normal winter level. And all I have for them is thanks. Okay? That's taking care of the citizens of Maumelle. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, Alderman Saunders. That's all of our new business. We'll move on to mayor's comments now. You have a copy in your packet of a HTD public involvement meeting letter. That meeting will be held at the Jess Odom Community Center a week from tomorrow, so March the 25th, from 4 to 7 p.m. It's an open house. There's not one formal presentation, but you can come and go. What I would request is that in your public comments section, tell them to construct the entrance to Maumelle, or the interchange to Maumelle, at the old rest area. So I would just write a comment that we would like you to build that. It's the 25th of March. There should be a letter in your packet, but it's from 4 to 7 p.m. But they're talking about the widening of 40 from Morgan to I-430 is what they're there for. So if you want to know about that project, you can go see it at that time. If there's no other questions on that, just want to mention that Alderman Anderson and I were in D.C. The first of last week. We met with Senator Pryor, Senator Bozeman, and Congressman Griffin, and then Alderman Anderson had to leave, but we had lunch with all four representatives and both senators in a gathering that the state league sponsored on Wednesday at noon. Alderman Anderson had to go catch a plane, or he was going to be left in D.C. But we had good meetings. No, we didn't come back with a pot full of money or anything like that, but we got their support, and the main thing we were talking to them about is some of the delays and regulations that we've been going through on trying to get some permits on some 404 permit issues and all. And so they said yes, if we need their help, they would be happy to contact the people that they needed to. We talked about the transportation bill that needs to be reauthorized. October of this year, MAP 21 runs out. You probably read in the newspaper the other day that the Highway Department pulled some projects out of their April letting because there's concerns about the Highway Trust Fund being funded. So both our senators were adamant about getting the trust fund fiscal responsible again, basically, and solvent, so that they talked about some issues that may be ways to do it and some things like that. I mean, nothing's been voted on, so they're all in discussion, so they're having all the transportation deals. We talked about Marketplace Fairness Act again. That's still up there because it's been passed in the Senate but not in the House side. But I understand there's difference of opinions on that. And then the other thing is the municipal bonds. Just what we talked about earlier tonight is those right now are tax exempt. And in part of the tax reform, they're talking about taking away that tax exemption. Basically what that means is the price of our bonds would go up if they do that. That's probably going to be in a big tax reform bill that they're working on. That's probably not going to happen this year. So I don't think we have to worry about any bond projects going up, which could affect, or the price going up, which could affect even Maumelle Water Management. But they are talking about that. So just a quick recap on where we were. We did have some really good meetings with them. Long meetings, longer than usual. Some of them lasted 45 minutes, so they seem to be more relaxed than usual. Actually met in everybody's office for a change. Not down the hallway, not in a Senate room somewhere else. I mean, didn't ride a tram with them. We sat in their office and talked to them. So that's pretty unusual that you get all three of them like that. So, but it was a very good meeting. 2 meetings ago, Mr. Jerry Poole came and mentioned the issue with the school traffic that goes through his parking lots. Alderman Johnson brought it up again last week. This is very tentative, very preliminary. There's been no survey done. There's no soils information. It's just a rough plan to try to determine. But our city engineers worked up a plan, and it contains a 10% contingency. It includes design fees in there, but about $283,000 would be the cost of building a roadway that connects Lake Point to Pine Forest around the parking lot. So there's your answer as far as how much a road could cost, and that and I think we can talk about that 2 weeks from tonight, possibly. But that's just want to get that information for you, and I'll have you a copy of it at that meeting. But I left it off the agenda, but March 31st is our bond projects workshop, so make sure you put that on your calendars too. But it should have been under my comments there, and I left them off. But March 31st is when the council, we'd agreed at our last meeting to have our workshop.
Where?
It's going to be at the South Room. That was the March 31st at 6 p.m. Yes. Yeah. That was the dates that was available. So, yeah. Okay. We don't have a planning commission report at this meeting. It'll be at the next meeting. Any alderman's comments?
Boom.
Alderman Johnson?
Two quick things, and I guess we live in Maumelle, but sometimes we don't realize what might be going on or what might be happening. But had the pleasure of running right in the heart of Maumelle to two businesses that I didn't know existed. One is a new Subway right there in the shopping area, and everything convenient, nice, clean, unbelievable. They got a drive-in deal that you can order it. And last but not least, my wife had a little problem, and our druggist suggested that she go over to, it's called Sherwood Walk-In Clinic. And it's not Sherwood, it's a guy by the name of Sherwood. But anyway, they got a brand new clinic, and they're right across from each other, and they're right all in the center of Maumelle. And I didn't know those existed, and I think one of them had been there since February. But I just wanted to tell you about it, and if you get a chance. And also, I had the pleasure of last Saturday walking the wetlands with a guy that knows what they're all about and everything. And I was going to tell you also, and I think it's 2 weeks. They're going to do one in the Maumelle wetlands, and they invited all of us to go, anyone that would like to go, and they meet at the girls' softball field. I don't have the exact date right.
March 29th, I believe.
Okay.
10 a.m., I believe, is when it is.
But I thoroughly enjoyed the wetland walk, and it was really interesting and everything like that. And it's someplace you don't normally go. And they also have a new stand out there where you can overlook the wetlands out there by the ballpark. It'd be a nice little venture. I think it's 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning.
Alderman Lewis?
Just wanted to extend my condolences to Alderman Johnson. Alderman Johnson lost his aunt, who was 103, and had been mayor of a community in Mississippi. And in order to make this meeting, Alderman Johnson foregoed the funeral ceremonies in Mississippi. He did go down and visit with his family, but I just wanted to extend my condolences and thank you to Alderman Johnson for his tireless efforts and service to the city of Maumelle.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for letting us know that. Any other alderman's comments?
Thank you.
I just want to thank the city of Maumelle and, of course, the mayor for giving me the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. I think it's very important for our elected officials to have that opportunity to talk to our congressmen and our senators. on their turf. Of course, they have an open door for us, and we haven't had any problems talking to them when they're in Arkansas. But it does give us that equal opportunity there. And like the mayor said, we had unprecedented amount of time with them, which is very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other Alderman's comments? Madam City Attorney?
I will be out of town beginning Friday through the following Sunday. I'll return on the 31st. If you need me during that time, you can send me an email. My response time may be a little bit late.
Thank you very much. Mr. City Clerk?
Make some comments. We may go a full 3 hours here, but
You trying to beat the record?
no, I have no comment.
You get applauded.
If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'd like to mention that on the reports,
Second the
I
motion.
didn't get all those in my packet. You know, the permits report.
I'll get them. Some scanner issues.
Okay, Joshua was saying he had some scanner issues, so, yeah, okay. All those in favor of adjourning, please say yes.
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 All opposed, say no. Meeting is adjourned.
We didn't get to have any discussion on that motion.
Oh yeah. All right. Hey, we got to 9
There-
p.m.
There is no discussion.
I did. At least long enough to make
Yeah,
it
that's what I
3
said.
hours.
So, yeah, March 29th. That's what I remembered. I was just, thank you.
Hey, we're gonna need your packet, Mike. And I'm just the stuff at the back.
Here's,
I'll get it from you tomorrow. But I mean, something's going on.
the mayor.
Well, they're going to be amended according to